Couldn't see it. There we go. Is that better?
Yes.
All right. First item on the agenda, the approval of today's agenda. And let me say this, if we can approve this with the allowing me the freedom to move items up and down as we need to, I would appreciate it. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the requested flexibility.
Okay, a second.
I second that motion.
All right, all in favor, obviously.
Aye.
All right. Let's see. All right. First thing that we're going to discuss, or in just a little bit, we're waiting on one member to arrive, but we're going to be moving possibly to a tiered system for special funding this year. And we're going to go ahead and move into each of the different groups, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that we are moving to a tiered system that is sort of like other municipalities throughout New Mexico use. It's dependent upon, what would you say, like previous years, for-profit, non-profit, that kind of thing. Is that correct?
Correct. So your events will be.
It's not on.
Correct. So the events will be evaluated on benchmark performance. So it'll be attendance, demographic information, how you're approaching, what your marketing applications have been, and how successful they are. So there will be you'll get a resolution of items that you will have to complete for the benchmarks to move to apply for funds for the next year. So you're applicable to apply for funds for up to 5 years, and then we'll review it again. But the tiered system offers you money that we will put in towards an advertising campaign for each event. So it's actually very exciting because it's going to be professionally done.
Appreciate it. And we will, when Carrie Gladden gets here, we will look into that deeper. Okay, moving forward, special event budget request. We're going to start with fiscal year 22. And let's see, we'll start with the Aspen Cash Motorcycle Rally. Morning. Deep breath. Yes, sir. Do you want to?
Aspen Cash and.
I'm sorry, would you mind sitting in the middle?
Yeah, that way it's, everybody can hear you. Sit right here? Yeah, there you go. Good.
Thank
That way I don't have to see you guys. All right, I like that. Right? Anyway, I'm here to represent the Aspen Cash Rally and the Golden Aspen. We have 2 events a year. We'll be having one the next month and a half, and I'm here to get you all to see if for all the help we can get from you all. Over these years, we've had, like everybody else, you hear it all the time, pandemic, la, 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 so it's getting real expensive out there for us to,
Right.
So we'd appreciate if, any help we can get from you all on the council for, we've been working with Miss Elizabeth on, for the advertising, so she's really been helping us. So I just want to, see what we're asking for as much as we can get, or as much help as we can get from you all. So, we're putting in for $5,000. Hopefully we can, you guys can help us, and we bring a lot of revenue in. We've been getting a lot of good report from my sister as far as the people calling in to register. They're excited to come out. They've all been cooped up, so.
Right.
So anyway, yes.
And are you going to be at the racetrack still?
No, sir. We'll be at the Civic Center in this May, and then at the racetrack in September.
Okay.
It's just a lot bigger over there.
Gotcha, yeah.
It's a smaller one, but yeah, but we're
Awesome.
getting a lot of good report. Everybody's been, calling and trying to, that they're excited to come for the event in May. It's 19th through the 22nd.
19, yeah.
So.
Great.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Humberto, is this just for the, excuse me, May event? Or
Yes,
for
sir.
both? Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Anna, do you have any- is this your second year running it?
No, going on our fourth year.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
sorry, pandemic kind of throws me off.
Actually, 3 years,
3
because,
years,
we lost one. Yes, sir, yeah. So-
Yeah, and we didn't see anybody in person last
Right,
year, so,
right. Yeah.
great.
And then we lost the May one in
Yes, that's
21,
right,
and then we
that's
only
right.
had the September.
Okay.
So I hadn't been too
Yeah.
good.
But the future looks bright, so,
Well, we're in war now, so.
awesome, I bet, yeah. The tireder you are, the more successful you'll be. Does anybody else have any questions? All right. Anything for us, or,
Nope,
Yeah.
just,
All right. Hey, we
hopefully
appreciate
you
it.
guys can help us and
for sure?
take all the help we can get.
All right. Hey, thank you so much.
you.
Good luck in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Let's see, is the racetrack here. I don't see Matt.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Oh,
I'm
there
on
he is.
Zoom.
All right, Matt Ingram with the Ruidoso Downs Racetrack. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Sorry I couldn't make it in there. I'm actually on an online class for real estate, so I do apologize. I had presented a presentation, but I think with the parameters, we need to kind of keep it short and quick for you guys. But I've just come in with a new role this summer. I'm helping out with the Ruidoso Downs Racetrack special events for the season. Previously, have run Chile the Kid down there. We've taken a new approach this year with facilitating a 100 by 200 foot event pavilion, the Santa Fe Furniture and Gifts Special Event Center, where we'll hold over 16 special events for the summer. So I'm excited to be on the team. I'm really anxious to see how it's going to work. And so in front of you, you'll see just basically a full-on list of events that we're applying for. We are applying for $2,500 per event. I feel like once we were going for funding, we felt that if we could do about 50 cents to 75 cents per lodger's tax dollar per patron that visits, out-of-town patron, that would be doing pretty good. We'll be working with the racetrack. So with all of our spends, really primarily we're going to be targeting that social media spends, really targeting everything outside of the community again. The racetrack has contracted RP Marketing out of Louisiana. They're the one that handles all of our marketing, and in coordination with them, the funds will be utilized to kind of facilitate and throw these events. So I'll just kind of jump through it. We have May 6th, we have the Ruidoso Downs Home and Garden Show sponsored by Phosphorus Galbraith, a cool new event. Each weekend there will be something down here. Again, these are some shoulder weekends as we roll into the busier time. So we'll have a home and garden show May 6th through the 8th. That brings us into our heritage and antique show and sale the next weekend. That's not the next weekend. I think we're going to have a couple other events that happen in there, but not ones that we're applying for. May 27th and 29th will be the antique show. We have a Tacos and Tequila Festival starting June 3rd through the 5th. So I'm excited for that. We'll be releasing a bunch of tequilas from some of our national distributors down there at the racetrack, as well as some local vendors facilitating the tacos. So that one's going to be fun. Quickly going through this, June 10th through the 12th, we have the Ruidoso Downs Marketplace, a vendor-focused event. It's going to be a free event, and then just really showcasing vendors from across the community. June 17th through the 19th, we present the Ruidoso Downs Boxing Pro-Am Championship. So this is going to be a both male and female event. We're going to both feature pros and amateurs boxing. So for 2 nights, you can come down and check out the boxing arena that we'll have set up there at the Santa Fe Events facility. June 24th to the 26th, we have the Ruidoso Downs Jewelry Show and Sale. Going to highlight a bunch of jewelry vendors from around the area, jewelry, that type of stuff. So just kind of adding an additional experience for all of the patrons down there at the racetrack. That brings us on to 4th of July weekend, Ruidoso Downs Red Wine and Brew Festival, showcasing beer and wine, spirits, ciders from across New Mexico. Excited to kind of take the format of Chile the Kid and apply it during a busy weekend. I know all of our vendors are extremely excited, and in my mind might be one of the bigger beer and wine festivals that we throw down here. Brings us into July. What am I really excited for this? We're going to present the Summer Concert Series, where we have 4 major bands coming through each weekend. Josh Bolin and the Stragglers and Tanner Usri will be July 9th. Stoney LaRue July 16th, Josh Abbott Band, July 23rd, and July 30 will be showcasing Jay Cooker and Will Bannister. So those are going to be some fun events down there. Make sure you put those on your calendar. All right, the weekend after that, we're actually switching around Chili the Kid and ZFS, flip-flopping the weekend. ZF Festival is going to be from the 5th through the 7th. I believe that's like a fourth-year event. Brings in thousands of people, showcasing over 100 vendors, both inside the grandstands out and in the outside pavilion as well. That will be August 5th through the 7th. Back to Chili the Kid Beer and Wine Festival. I believe that this is 4th year or 5th year. I've lost count. June 7th. It's actually August. I think I have it wrong on my presentation. Sorry, guys. I believe it's August 12th through the 14th. Chili the Kid Beer and Wine focuses on focuses on beer and wine from across New Mexico, as well as R&K Farms out of Hatch. So they bring in all their green chili. We roast over 500 pounds of green chili pretty much every year and give out to the patrons. The last two I have for you guys brings us into the All-American Trials weekend. We'll have an art festival on the 19th through the 21st. So that'll be on the trials. Once we get to the All-American weekend, September 2nd through the 4th, we'll also have a vendor-centric event with music going on, and that is September 2nd through the 4th. Really, other than that, we're just really looking at creating experiences down there at the racetrack this summer. We are working with other partners to facilitate some events throughout the summer. So we look forward to just kind of creating a unique event opportunity and see what we can do this summer.
That's impressive. He pulled that off in 5 minutes. And he didn't even take a breath.
If you guys gave me that microphone up there, I'd be there for 10 minutes, you know, so. But no, we're excited. These are going to be year after year. I'm excited that the racetrack stepped up with an event center down there in the Downs. I would just have so many people coming through. I think it's a unique opportunity for both businesses and then just patrons to appreciate over the summer. So I'm excited to be a part of it. And I know that the racetracks team down there is well ahead of it any way that we've been. So the management down there is on it. And we look forward to doing some really cool events this summer.
Anybody have any questions?
That's great. No, that's awesome.
Okay. Well, Matt, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All righty.
I appreciate you guys.
If he'd had more time, he would have done PowerPoint. For every single, we'd be here until 9 o'clock tonight. That was awesome. All righty, Scorpion Tattoos, the Ruidoso Tattoo Expo.
Mr. Chairman, if I may interrupt just for a second, just for clarification, the 2022 request, the old policy will still apply?
Will still apply, correct.
The marketing?
Right.
And then for your consideration, the policy will be presented for the 2023 request on the tier system?
Correct, okay.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you guys doing?
We're doing great. I'm Logan Flaherty. This is James Flores. We are reapplying for the lodger's tax for Ruidoso Tattoo Expo. It's on Father's Day weekend, June 17th, 18th, and 19th. We're doing a 3-day festival. It's a tattoo expo. We're bringing in over 70 award-winning world-class artists, all the way from London, I think.
Manchester.
All over. Wow. Yeah, so we reapplied from the first year that COVID shut us down. So we're at the point of almost organizing so much that we have a better team, better artists, lots of good vendors. We've tied in a car show.
Yeah, we've added a car show to the list. We have 70 booths already completely sold out. Like you said, over 70 well-established, award-winning artists from all around. We actually compete around the world myself. So we've met some of the, really awesome artists on the road that want to be a part of Ruidoso. So we're really excited to get out of the shop. We've been known to do a lot of fundraising at Scorpion Tattoos, but we've grown past what we can handle there. We're kind of shutting down traffic at that point. So it's time to move to a larger facility. The fact that we have so many people wanting to do this, we are overwhelmed with requests for this show. That's why we added the car show to kind of separate the amount of people that are going to be in there. These shows bring somewhere around 25 to 3,500 people each time. So we thought it'd be really good for Ruidoso, for the summer events here on Father's Day weekend of that. So it gives something for all the people around Ruidoso to experience with that. We've also tied in with Midtown Association in Ruidoso. We thought it'd be really good to link up. I think we're gonna be having some transits going back and forth from that event to our event. And then we added the car show, which is actually a free event for the public, just to kind of give them a little bit more to experience outside. It's just gonna be a perfect weather for that, so.
Be over at the convention center?
Over at the convention center, yes, and it's planned for June 17th through the 19th. We're just really looking forward to that, so we would love some help with the funding, advertising and such, so we do pretty good. I have a pretty good outreach with our Facebook and social media. We have quite a bit of following, so I know we can extend so far, but I think the advertising money is really where it's at, so we can extend it a little further to bring more people and put this out there.
Excellent.
So, and also, we always do fundraisers and stuff, so I'm always trying to give back to this community for that reason. And we want to try to build some type of art scholarship to somebody looking up to kind of grow into the spot that I've grown in and what Ruidoso's given to me. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that'll be
Exciting.
fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, for the community.
Awesome. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I had a question.
sir.
You said something about COVID shut you down. Did you guys do this once already?
No, we had planned to do it in 2019. That was the first year, or I'm sorry, 2020. That was the first year that we were getting ready to boost it. And of course, the convention center did get shut down. So we kind of put that on hold, but we've still continued to build. I do all the trophies myself, so we've continued to grow that and still put the word out. So it kind of gave us time to make this event better than we could have done it in 2020.
And we did, there was a prior team that had tried to throw one and it was poorly done, bad response. We've been to over 100 events here and there, and we just went to 2 in the last 2 weeks, and we kicked butt.
Ruidoso deserves better.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're gonna put on a classy, really nice event.
Yeah, I had remembered that there was one that was done
Yeah, it was
2019, 2020.
2019, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, guys. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, we're excited.
Heck yeah, we are too.
It's like a reunion of old faces. Just hadn't seen everybody in 2 years, so it's exciting to be back and rolling again. All right, so that ends the fiscal year 2022 budget requests, and we're going to shift the agenda just slightly and discuss the policy for 2023 requests. And we'll turn it over to our tourism director, Ms.
Thank you.
Ritter.
Now I'm on. So 2023, we didn't want any confusion. 2022 will be funded how it has been in the past. 2023, we actually started meeting with a lot of you when I came on board, and I realized that you were spending all your budget on one thing, whether it be a billboard or whether it be mass marketing or whether it be, local newspapers and things and social media. And it dawned on me that we have volume discounts because we're already purchasing media. And how could we better help you to expand your reach? And the tattoo show and Ruidoso, we've worked with them. We're going to combine efforts and funds so that we can really expand our exposure for these events. So the whole idea of the tiered system is to allow you to grow your event when you don't have those monies. So we're going to come in and help. We're going to do the advertising. We're going to draft all your strategy and sit down with you. So Kelly, do you want to go through the actual tiered?
Yeah.
And I will say, before Kelly speaks, this was something that we were discussing prior to the pandemic with the previous tourism director. Like I mentioned earlier, this has been done in other municipalities, but for ours, the reach that Team Tourism, Discover Ruidoso, the social media outlets that the village has, the reach is absolutely incredible. But this, like I said, this was something that was being discussed prior to the pandemic and would have been implemented at that time, or discussed further. But I'll turn it over to Kelly.
Okay. Yeah, so as you can see here, we've put together a recommendation for 4 different tiers within this funding process. So in the first one, is in line with what we previously had for lodgers tax funds of up to $5,000. So the criteria for this is if you were either a first-year event or it did not occur in the previous year. And so there we have listed out what the recommendations would be in terms of the breakdown of by heavy emphasis on social marketing, social media marketing, and then moving to, I know we've talked a lot about the El Paso billboard that we have, and so that, going off what Elizabeth was saying in terms of being able to buy at scale. So that's something that we have already have purchased and are using for events. So the event would be able to have their event on that billboard. And then print, radio, and other media. And so that's kind of what the breakdown would be. It's on the last page of the packet, or close to the last, of that top tier. So then moving down to the tier B would be up to $3,000. And so this is really an event that you're looking to bring people into town. Still with social media being at the top, just in terms of the low cost per click and cost of impression, and utilizing the dollars in a digital way, print, radio, and others. So one of the main things that would not be at this level would be not being able to utilize the El Paso billboard. And then moving down to the tier C, so this is mainly for an event that is more of a community or local focus. So you're maybe not trying to get people from out of town, but get the community to come out. Because I do know there are a lot of events that it's really for the good of the community, kind of the well-being that we all like to live here, and increases that for all of us. And then finally, small local scale would be at 1,000, and so it could be used to actually help run the event, but maybe not some of the ones that are listed above. So we take a similar approach to some of our other marketing efforts in terms of the number of pieces of content that we're creating for each event. And so, I think Rideau is a good example of that. So that's kind of one of those tier 1 events. And so we're creating all of the pieces and all the sizes in coordination with RMA and even with the convention center and with the tattoo festival. So for that weekend, I think is a good example of one that we include all the things on, and it goes down from there. So I know this is something that we've talked about for a long time, and just to be more strategic as a community in terms of our marketing efforts, I know that sometimes buying t-shirts are a really important thing for your event, but really the goal of the Lodgers Tax Fund is to get heads and beds and get people into our community. And so we want to take a more strategic approach into our marketing efforts and provide that support to the different events. Any questions? We'll stand for questions.
Mr. Chairman, so I don't know if this is Elizabeth or Kelly, but what are the downsides to doing this? Any negative feedback we're going to experience, or any reason that we ought to, what else is out there?
Well, I guess, there's always that, well, we've always done it this way, and so I think that this is something that we view as a positive change and something that we could test, and let's see how it goes. And I think there's a real value in having this more coordinated approach to all the marketing efforts. I don't know if there's more that you wanted to add.
I would agree, and I think since being here, just working with the, whether it be Aspen Cash or Rideau Midtown, bringing all of them together in an advertising marketing campaign and using our resources, it saves us a tremendous amount of money, yet our exposure is tenfold. So the benefit, the upside is our exposure is definitely going to be there. I know that some people are going to have to give up things that maybe they don't want to get up in the beginning, but we are going to do the analytics after each event. We're going to find out how we performed, and if it didn't perform, we're up for discussing. But I really think this approach is going to be valuable.
So, and that's what I was going to ask too. So in the future on applications, we will expect to see the analytics from the prior event?
Correct. Everything is going to be measured.
Okay.
And that's why we have the benchmarks, because it's easy to say, I bring a lot of people to town and but we really have to start measuring.
Yep.
What are we seeing lodgers tax wise? What are we seeing retail wise? What are we seeing with our restaurants? And and the rest of, whether it be the parks and recreation side of things. We have to look at it as a whole, and that is our goal.
And I see some additional value for the applicants being expertise, so that's great.
Well, so far, we've had really great applicants who have worked with us, and I think they've brought things to the table that we are interested in also entertaining in the future. So far,
Yeah.
good.
When I remember the first couple of years I was on the board, we would give X amount of money to an event that would, we would ask them, are you going to market? And it would come back, we're going to put an ad in the Clovis paper, an ad in the Portales paper, well, that's too close, Hobbs and maybe Lubbock. And that $5,000 on 3 newspaper buys, one, you can't quantify it, and number two, it really doesn't have the reach that, say, $1,500 in social media marketing goes. I mean, Matt Ingram, when he spoke a little bit ago, can tell you how far, a very small budget with Ruidoso and Chile the Kid went on the first year or two of those two events' existence. And so, I think for any event, you want the best people in each position, and our team tourism is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you see the growth of Instagram, Facebook, what they've done with the billboards. We've got bus wraps in Tucson, and some of you lodgers may have noticed an increase in Arizona tourists, and that's a direct result of what they've done in the last 2 or 3 years. And so, I think compared to where it was 5, 6 years ago, this is a big step forward. Because it keeps all of us on the same page, and it's one big team in Ruidoso. So, anything else? So, make a motion to approve. Okay. All right. So, with that said, where is it? Sorry. Get back on my deal. Do we have a motion to approve the tiered system for funding of special events starting with fiscal year 2023?
Here we go. I make the motion to approve the new tiered system, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. This makes it easy when 2 members are missing. It's just kind of... All right. Actually, since he skipped through. And Elizabeth, you said the alto artists are not presenting? What's that? Okay. I'm sorry, I was getting, let me see, there it is. It's 3 down. It's 3 down, okay. So the alto artist tour. We'll go ahead and present. Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Ekman. I'm the Vice President of the Alto Artist Tour. And we're staying within our 5 minutes, so. Our proposed budget this year, or last year I should say, was $13,200. That was our income. And, oh, I'm sorry, okay. Our proposed budget, let me start this again, for 2022, income, $13,200, expenses, $12,556. The details surrounding our event is, this is our 18th year. It's a self-guided tour of artists from, excuse me, Alto and Ruidoso. The event is August 5th, 6th, and 7th. Where is in Artist Studios in Alto. Last year we used the Enchanted Vine Barn, which went really well.
Great.
And also the Century 21 Alto office. Our purpose is to educate the public about the arts and the many artists that are in this community. We do have a charitable event component to our event. The Angel Fund for the Spencer Theater. The Angel Fund gives tickets to children and mentors involved in the youth outreach programs. and our organization donates to that.
Okay. That's great.
Yes, we are more than willing to share the VOA information with all local businesses and marketing opportunities. Okay, how we market our event. We do quite a few things, but I can tell you right off the bat that our brochures are our number one, no matter how much money we spend on our advertising, and we spend a lot, we go out of state. Those brochures are the things that really bring the people in. We print 15,000 full-color brochures that are distributed to local businesses, the Rideau Chamber of Commerce, and surrounding areas. The Commerce Chamber will mail them out to people if requested. The brochures are also distributed by us with Southwest Marketing. Included in our brochure is a map to locate the artist sites, sponsor names, business names. We have a website, a Facebook page, and that includes the artists and sponsor ads posted beginning May 1st, and it runs through August. We utilize the banner that hangs across Suttereth announcing our event and the dates. We also have a banner. We also have a banner facing the street. For printed advertising, we print in the Ruidoso Visitor's Guide, which is multifaceted, so you're hearing about all sorts of events in that one. Albuquerque Journal, El Paso Inc., Lubbock Magazine, Midland Reporter, the Inca Las Cruces, Alamodorso Connection, and the Spencer Theater Program. We invite the public to attend a preview party at the Spencer Theater the night before the tour begins. This year, that would be August 4th. This party showcases the artists and their works. We have a silent auction of art donated by each artist. We offer hors d'oeuvres and refreshments. That is an important event. I know the community looks forward to that, and they bring friends and relatives from out of state. The total advertising budget marketed for 2021 was $7,435. This year, it will be $9,035. Our attendance last year was about 1,200.
That's great.
And that's about it. We thank you for your consideration. Do you have any questions?
No, it's an awesome event.
It is.
Yeah, it is. It's, I think it really started out very local, but I think as it's gone on through all these years, we're bringing in other people.
Yeah, we have a lot of guests.
Exactly, yeah.
For this.
Your website looks good, too.
And come to the Spencer Theater Party. It's
sure.
really nice.
Your website's very well done. I was looking at it while you were discussing it. Very, very nice. And
Thank you.
I always enjoy the brochures. So, does anybody have any questions for these ladies? Thank you so much.
Okay, well,
Good luck
thank you.
this year.
We appreciate it, giving us the time.
Okay, the ENMU Ruidoso Foundation, Aim High. Good morning, how are you doing?
Good morning. Can you see me on Zoom?
We
I'm
can.
good, thank you. It's good to see all of you. Thank you for letting me attend by Zoom this morning. I always appreciate this very much, and hopefully you have in front of you our request for $5,000 again this year. And I just hope you really, there's two things I wanted to mention after listening to the comments this morning, is I love how we can partner and work with the marketing strategies from the Village of Ruidoso, but I also look at it on the other side too. I target specific people to come to this event. And so I really target a lot of Texans and people in Arizona, simply because as a community college, we are limited to advertising for things for our community college in Lincoln County. So that is something that I've been made aware of. And so I really target that West Texas area. So if you look at that, we are looking at the print as far as Shotgun Sports Magazine. We always go into the Rideau Downs racing program. We send out flyers to many different clubs across West Texas. We have social media. We are advertising on the shooters pages, Target Talk, Score Chaser. These are a couple of new ones that we have hit. We have had an incredible turnout due to the turn of events on advertising in those different markets. It's been phenomenal. And if you look at our gross income, you can see the increase of every year. And that is hopefully, and I hope that you see I'm doing the best I can to be good stewards of these dollars that we receive, and it's working because we are increasing our people who are attending. Last year's event was phenomenal. We had an outpouring of people that I had not expected. And so this year we've gone to a 2-day event, Friday, Saturday, simply because we want to be able to accommodate, which means another night of heads in beds in our community, which is excellent. We want that. We want them to come a day early. So we are very excited about that. And of course, you know, I've always done billboards as well. I have to focus on Lincoln County though for a billboard now. And so last year we went in front of Fox Cave. We were excited to do that. And we always use the radio. That is a huge component for us. For Aim High event, we have found that every person who calls, I've really targeted those 3 areas. And I always ask, how did you hear about us? We started a new program this year called Score Chaser. And so we use that. I've already had multiple calls from West Texas who are members of these tournaments that this application puts out. So it was a good investment and we're super excited. So we're going to continue to grow with that. And again, I couldn't do it without you guys. Advertising is so important to bring people here. And so without you guys, it just wouldn't happen. And I appreciate everything you do for us every year that we have come to you. We've been very fortunate. So I am ready to stand for any questions you may have. Our event is June 24th and 25th. Again, it's at the Mountain Gods. And these revenues support the vital educational programs that NMU Rideau provides. And so this is really a 2 positives for our community. Why do we do it? We do it for our community, the people who live here, the students, to better our campus, our college atmosphere for our students. And then we also do it to bring those people to Rideau. So we want people to come. So I'm excited. I think that we are very much open. We're ready to bring people back in, and they're going to pour in June. And I'm excited for that. So any questions you may have for me, I'm ready to stand for them.
How many contestants did you have the first year attendance? I remember it was, I'm trying to remember back because this has grown quick.
It has grown quick. It's been a fabulous fundraiser. That first year, you know, we probably had 100 teams, if that. 100 participants.
That's what
And so, yes. And so if you look at that from the very beginning to last year, we had over 225. And so this year, I can't imagine. It's growing so much. I need all the help I can get.
Mr. Chairman, hey, Rhonda. So what do you think your max is on this event? Do you kind of have that in mind somewhere?
Max as far as participants?
Yes. Because I know you're busy.
You know, it would be very, I'm sorry.
I just said I know you're busy with it as it is. I was just curious as to how big it could get if this is it.
Well, I'm hoping, it looks like, our target would not want to reach over 500 participants. That would be a very difficult 2 days. I don't want to stretch it out to 3 days as a fundraiser. I'd kill my volunteers as it is anyway, but that would be extreme. 500 participants would be extreme for us. That would be great. We would love that. And we actually had over 350 plus attendees at our banquet. And that was the overflow of our community coming out to support us as well. But people just came in from, that they were already in town and came out. So we're continuing to grow. But the participants for the shoot is what's very important to us, as well as our sponsors and sponsorships that are available. So I hope this year, I can't imagine. I mean, my targets, if you look at where we came from, where we began, and where we are now, I have no doubt we'll have 300 participants this year.
Well, you've done a great job growing it. I don't mean to diminish that at all. I was just curious.
Thanks, Mike.
Rhonda, thank you very much and good luck this year.
Thank you very much. I'd love to see you all out there. Come and see me.
All right. Elizabeth, just to double check, no art loop. Okay, I had to get my art right. Okay, Ruidoso Grindstone Trail Runs. Frederick's been getting ready since 5 this morning when I saw him at the gym. He's trying to work out, and he kept giving me his
So I'm a one-man show that.
And Frederick, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I can take it. Okay, so the Grindstone Trail Runs is our poster this year, so if you wish to pass this along. There's 3 distances. You're welcome to sign up right now. Registration's open. It's a full mile, 8.5, and a half marathon, which is half marathon. Anybody knows? 13 points. Very good. And it'll start at Winfield Park and finish at Winfield Park. And great thing this year, I found out at Park and Rec, is that the farmers market will be open. We'll have the farmers market the same day. This was last year, the half marathon finishers got a medal, and that's what we had. So each finisher, whether you were first or last, you got this nice wooden medal. So, of course, the purpose of the trail runs is to promote the trails at Grindstone Lake and within the enjoyment of trail running or the pain. Some folks like the pain once in a while, and they'll pay for it, which is. It's been a benefit for the Ski Apache Adaptive Sports since the first year we've done this. So they're main beneficiary, but since a shirt, we have other volunteer groups in town, non-profit, and since a shirt is not enough this year, so we donate some funds to eco-servants. Fair enough, they build those trails, so they deserve some funding. Sierra Blanca Amateur Radio Club, the Boy Scouts Troop 59, and White Mountain Search and Rescue. I've been promoting the trail runs at Grindstone since 2014. We've averaged about 300 runners, give or take. Of course, last year was a wash. Now the year before was a wash, and I found out I need to educate folks about what trail running is. It's not hiking. It is trail running. You're running on trail. You are not running on the road. So it may sound funny, but it's different. It's 2 different things. Think about mountain biking and road biking. I'm sure Seth knows what it is. It's 2 different equipment. Running with road, street, sneakers. You have just the foam is light. A hiking, a trail running shoe is stronger. It sometimes has even The sole is made out of a tire, just to give you an example. So I've been getting funding from you folks ever since 2014. One thing, and I'm glad the village wants to cooperate a little more in terms of marketing, is, and this is not a whining session, it's every time I looked at Discover Rideau website or the Park and Recreation website, trail running is non-existent. It's not mentioning. And I think as a village, we claim to be an outdoor recreation destination. We need to target those folks. They're not going to come only for my race. They will come to train for other races. Even training for my race, obviously, train for other races, or just they'll come as a family. And if they are targeted, if they are acknowledged on those websites, they'll feel, like, hey, we belong here. So that is just what I would really emphasize. My goal today is that, if I have the contact with Discover Rideau website, the Chamber of Commerce, or the website of Park and Recreation, I'd like to collaborate on that so we have it there, among horseback riding, mountain biking, hiking, trail running. I have a library for the photographs. I can give, donate or whatever. Big 5 photographs. That's about what I'd like to have accomplished today within my 5 minutes.
Well, I appreciate you telling that, 5 seconds. I'll speak fast then.
Any questions, please? Test me.
Yeah, and this is for anybody here or listening. We, Elizabeth, Team Tourism, and the members of this board, and of course the Greater Village employees and members, any feedback is terrific, and if there's a lack, please let us know. And I never thought about the lack of trail running information here. We have some terrific trails that are still being developed, still growing. I think Seth will say the same thing with mountain biking, but you think about Colorado in the spring, and there are some fantastic athletes up there. Most of those trails are still under the snow, and so this is a good place to come and train, especially before a summer fall season. And the more that we can do to support trail running, mountain biking, we'll continue doing it.
And people will love the high altitude, to train. That's for sure.
I just had a quick question. I don't see on this, but targeted attendance, it may be here somewhere, I'm just not seeing it.
The more the better.
Let me, okay, I got it. Based on past events, how many folks do you think registered?
We have, we've peaked at 1 year at 575, I've averaged, 300. Not finding any excuses, but COVID, there was a lot of virtual events, so people went back, running with some virtual events, and so it's kind of a restart, for all the events. I'm not pointing mine specifically, so there is no limit in terms of permit. Is that if you're asking that? Sometimes U.S. Forest Service, since I need a permit at Grindstone, will have a limit of 400 registration. I know some races will do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frederick. And I'll pass that along to Discover Rideau and
Thanks.
the proper people.
Appreciate it.
So, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Rideau Midtown Association. We've got 2 events. We're getting close. I'm going to take a break right here. You got it. I haven't even kicked in my water yet.
Train the cross-country in high school.
See, you got 2 meetings now. See, you got it. Do what?
Good morning, you guys.
Good morning.
How did you guys sleep last night? How do you guys sleep? I've been up way too early this morning.
It's called allergies and Benadryl.
I was looking forward to seeing you guys this morning. It's exciting to get hyped up about not only this year, but the next coming year as well. So we want to come in as part of the team. We love that we're on this groundbreaking tier system here because we're really excited about it, utilizing the professional resources. So I'm just going to talk about Ruidoso, and first, obviously, I think everybody's pretty familiar with that. The organization established that event back in 2018, and then we kind of had a stall out there for a couple of years, but we're excited to come back to it, and so much has developed this last year. So much has developed. We've partnered with Parks and Recreation and Team Tourism, and this summer is going to just blow it out of the water. But all of our efforts this year is focused on making it happen again next year and the year after that, and being able to monitor that growth. So that's what we're excited to come into. So we're going to try and continually hold it on Father's Day weekend because that's just a good weekend, a holiday destination. We're going to keep working with the tattoo convention and with the team tourism to provide entertainment for Ruidoso being a destination that weekend with a plethora of things to do, accommodating all different kinds of tastes. But the fact that we're promoting cross attendance too, we're not just trying to, there's a little bit of everybody, and Dad can even go still play golf if he wants to. And so we have a lot to provide here. Obviously, RMA is a charitable organization. Our sole purpose is to benefit the district for the Midtown Association, and so that's what our goals are here. We've done some great work, and we're continuing to set goals and meet those goals as well, working with the whole entire community, not just Midtown. And so that's where you'll see our funds at work whenever we accomplish these large-scale events. Those are our fundraising opportunities, and then we get to turn around and spend that money and make it happen like right on the street and see these plans come together and beautiful murals go up on the wall and all kinds of fun stuff that our organization has accomplished. So I want to remind that that's why we're doing both of these. So I want to kind of jump over for a second to the Mountain Smoke Festival. We also did that event back in 2019, but we're going to kind of erase the board on that one, and then we're going to start over fresh and just treat it as a brand new day. We're gonna focus on having just a good old fashioned backyard barbecue right here in the middle of Midtown. I wanted to focus that day particularly, maybe only being one day. I think it's a holiday weekend, so we want to see people come to Ruidoso, spend their time in Ruidoso, and be able to explore the whole entire community and do all of the other options too. For the Mountain Smoke Festival, we're going to partner this year with the Parks and Recreation to provide entertainment for the drone shows that they're providing. So this is like a great opportunity for the two entities to come together and just provide this massive scale entertainment. And awesome. And so then we want to see that happen from year to year. So we're going to try and regenerate those funds and continue to reuse them. So I am asking for the full amount on both of these events so that we can start fresh this year. So thank you guys for doing what you do and being here for us.
Forgot, you are doing, Parks and Rec's doing the drone show on 4th of July? Is that, at Wingfield?
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
everything, gotcha.
And we want
Forgot about
to set that up as a tradition. We're looking forward to we're establishing two kind of new things this year to move forward into the years further. Father's Day weekend being Party in the Pines, that's going to be a destination weekend, and then on 4th of July weekend, the same thing, that whatever you're doing in town that weekend, you can catch a drone show that night. So
awesome.
Yeah.
First of all, just, I love the collaboration, leveraging other partners and that kind of thing, so that's fantastic. Estimated attendance, $3,000, is that pretty much what we've done in the past?
We had 3,000 attendees for Ruidoso and Mountain Smoke Festival separately.
Yeah.
And we measured that through ticket sales, and so
Okay.
we hope to exceed that this year. We're kind of going for doubling it, so that's what I hope, that we can give a good report that we're going to shoot for even higher numbers next year.
So in light of the April 1st legalization, you guys thought about changing your name a little? I'm just teasing.
Change the color? Can we just turn it green?
You might get 6,000 this year.
Why does this keep coming up?
Turn into Woodstock.
Every time I turn around. Good goals, you guys, good
There you
goals.
go. That's good. Anna, you have anything?
Okay, well, thank you guys, thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much. Okay, Ruidoso Valley Chamber of Commerce. Didn't even think about that. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, sorry.
Good morning. So real quick, we have four different events that the Chamber does. The first one is the Rideau Art Festival. Last year was the first year back after the pandemic, so we had roughly about 3,000 people for the 3-day festival. We do most of our advertising on social media for this. We do targeted, boosted Facebook posts, and this year we're adding Instagram. Kind of new to Instagram, but it's working. And so last year we spent about $1,000 on our Facebook marketing, and of that $1,000, we reached, our total reach was about 145,000 people with engagements of almost 9,000 engagements. So we have, in the past, we tried to do magazine ads, but in like Cowboys and Indians, but that really is not, it's not, you can't quantify where you're, and it's expensive. So we've just been doing, limiting ours to Facebook, and then we do the radio, the Rideau Roundup, and when we do that Rideau Roundup, we do include all of the events that are going on in Rideau that week. Let's see. Next, we have the Aspen Fest Parade and Festival. That one, the parade is in the morning, and then after the parade, we have the festival in Wingfield Park. Last year, we had 38 parade entries. It was a great parade. And then about 1,500 people, 1,500 adults into the festival. We didn't count the children because we don't charge for them. And that one we had a lot of help with Parks and Rec with a lot of different things. We were able to bring in the Mechanical Bull and the Old West Photo Studio, which was a lot of fun and really popular. Again, all of our advertising, other than the parades or the posters we put around town, was on social media. And then the Festival of Lights Parade and After Party, that one is more of a event that we do to give back to the community. We don't make a whole lot of money off of that. For both of our parades, we don't charge for the children's entries. We want all our youth to be able to be in the parade if they want to, so we let them do that for free.
You certainly gave back. That parade was awesome.
It was an awesome
That was a
parade. It was, I think it was the best parade we've had in a long, long time. But we had 41 entries, not including all of the emergency vehicles. And the after party is something that the chamber does. We don't charge. We do that to give back to the community. So we donated to the Rideau High School Drama Club so they could do the hot chocolate. Cornerstone Bakery donated the cookies and coffee. We did coloring books and crayons and Christmas bracelets to all the kids. And then Parks and Recs had the movie Polar Express along with the train, the Moose Caboose train, which
had a little bit of technical issues, so we just had that for a photo shoot. But that was a lot of fun for the community. We had a great turnout. The decorations in the park were fantastic. So that was just a great event. And then our Vines in the Pines. Okay, thank you. Vines in the Pines, this past year, we had 1,100 attendees on Saturday and about 500 on Sunday. We give away a lot of tickets for that event to the fire department, police department, all of the teachers in the school, and those are Sunday tickets. So Sundays, a lot of the people through the door are the free tickets. We're hoping to find a way next year to bring up maybe some more people from El Paso and Albuquerque on Sunday. I don't know if we can get any more people through the door on Saturday and still have room to drink wine. But I'm going to reach out next year to some of the tour bus companies in El Paso and Albuquerque and see if we can't get them to bring a couple loads of people up on Sunday. It's a President's Day weekend, so it's a 3-day weekend. There's no reason we can't get more people in on Sunday for that. And then one thing I forgot to mention about the Art Fest was last year we did something new. After the art festival, we took some of our revenue and donated it back to the Rideau art programs in the schools. We just thought, if we can kind of grow up some future artists for our event. It was our 51st year, or it'll be our 51st year this year, so we're excited about it.
That's wonderful.
We've already got artists applying, so we start that event in January. And
Okay.
any questions?
Question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're excited to work with Elizabeth, too. I think it's going to be a great partnership.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. The Ruidoso Valley Greeters with the Christmas Jubilee coming back. I feel like that was everybody. I didn't see anybody. Yeah.
Ready? Okay, good morning. My name is Pam Dutton, and I am the advertising chairperson for the upcoming 35th Christmas Jubilee. This is the signature event for the Ruidoso Valley Greeters. This is Lori with me, and then we have a couple of other greeters in the audience as well.
Tell.
Yeah, you can't tell. Jubilee 2022 will be held this year on November 11th through the 13th at the Ruidoso Convention Center. And this is after a 2-year hiatus due to COVID. So we're really excited about our return and making Jubilee 2022 the biggest and best ever. This is a mega shopping event. It attracts approximately 75 to 85 Lincoln County merchants. And they rent booths from the convention center, which pays for the cost of holding the event at the convention center. Other revenue that we make goes back to the community in the form of charitable donations. And I have a list of those. We didn't put all those donations on the one-page handout, but we have a list if you have questions on that. Families come from all over the state and surrounding states, and they shop and they eat and they experience many activities available at Jubilee, and then also what they can do after Jubilee. Therefore, our lodging and restaurants and other businesses benefit greatly from about 5,000 to 6,000 attendees that we've had in the past at this 3-day event. Our advertising budget for this year is $8,500, and very interesting on the comment that's really interesting about collaborating with y'all, because in our committee discussions, we've been weighing, how much for newspapers, not like it used to be, how much for social media. So we're in those discussions, and so great to be able to think about changing some things there. And we have posters, rack cards, save the date cards. We're getting out ahead of time to our merchants to hand out to their customers. We do internet, social media, radio's been a big part of our advertising as well. Street banners, you name it, we've done it. And on your handout is more itemized things as to where our advertising budget has gone in the past. We do also provide surveys in the form of an event tracker form. And we offer incentives to encourage participation in this survey so we can get as accurate account as we can about where you came from, where you stayed, how you heard about us, and so on. And then we gather this information, compile it, study it to help us decide the best allocation of our funding for the coming next event. Merchants are also issued an evaluation form as well because we're always striving to be better.
There you go.
And so we want to hear what they have to say. And in the past, we really have had overwhelmingly positive reviews from our merchants. The timing of Jubilee, which is always the second weekend in November, is intended to bring in people during a rather slow time, after the busy racing season, before the Christmas season, the holiday rush, yet it's close enough to begin people getting excited about the Christmas season. This year, admission is $5 per person, with 12 and under getting in free. Active military with ID will have free admission. And also this year, we open on Friday, and that's Veterans Day. And so we're going to open, before we open the doors this year, we're going to have a color guard presentation and a live remote recognition for our veterans. And then they will get in free that day. As you look over your handout, if you have any questions, we certainly are available to answer. And in conclusion, for 35 years, Christmas Jubilee has been an event that people look forward to coming and attending and spending their money in our beautiful area. And we thank you for your generous monetary donations in the past and for your consideration of our funding request for this year's Christmas Jubilee.
We're just glad you're back.
We're glad to be back.
Get all my shopping done early.
I know.
Does anybody have any questions?
No, love your.
Now, this is our new logo, yeah, so our branding.
Yeah, we have a new logo.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, no Oktoberfest. We have the sheet, though. Yeah. All right, Zia Rides with the Wild West. How's it going? Good.
Hello, everyone.
Morning.
My name's Seth Bush, and I run Zia Rides in the Wild West Mountain Bike Fest here in Ruidoso. It's part of a series of events that we hold throughout the Southwest in Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico, so you're one of those. In the past, we have held the race in April. Last year, we moved it to October, and we're going to continue it in October again this year. The weather's a little better in October. We didn't get snow in October. We are going to make a few changes this year. One is that we're not going to hold, last year we added a 40-mile event that included both the Cedar Creek Trails and the Grindstone Lake Trails. And that was hugely popular and hugely successful. And we think that event is really going to grow. So we're going to focus on having that, and we're going to remove our 12-hour option. Part of the reason we're removing the 12-hour option is because they start in the dark and the cold, and they end in the dark and the cold. And it really was not conducive to like a good environment. So we're going to do a 6-hour, a 40-mile race, and then the enduro downhill event this year. It brings in, I was just looking at the demographics, we bring in people primarily from Texas, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico. We do occasionally have folks from elsewhere that come in, but we draw from a wide field. We know where our people are. They're at other events, they're at bike shops, like we know where to find them. So I often will go and target specific events. I was at the 24 Hours of Old Pueblo where there's 2,000 plus riders handing out information cards. I'll be going to the Whiskey 50 race in Prescott, Arizona, also doing the same. I'll be going to events in Colorado, like we know where they are, we try to target them. Most of our funds are spent in marketing on social media because again, you can break down specific interests and delve into that. So, you know, that's where as far as our marketing money, it is going to be spent on, you know, going to events, getting cards in front of people's hands, getting posters in bike shops, and then spending that time on social media, really targeting and going into the data of what people have expressed interest in. You know, are they, you know, expressing interest in mountain biking? Are they expressing interest in specific mountain biking brands? We have a whole list of things that we've built out interest groups within Instagram and Facebook. And, you know, every once in a while we'll add more things as they pop up. So, you know, whether it be specialized bikes, trek bikes, people express interest in those things, and then we add them to our list. And that's who we target and spend our time focused on. As far as community beneficiaries or people we've worked with, we work with Eco-Servants. Last year we partnered with Benito Volunteer Fire Department. We've worked with Lincoln County Sheriff's Posse in the past, and I just recently spoke, at White Mountain Search and Rescue, they're kind of reforming, and I really want to involve them as well this year. We're always looking for community sponsors or community support. You know, we have, Eco-Servants has been a big supporter of the event. You know, right now I'm in discussions with a few hotels to partner with, and we really want to try to, last year we kind of dialed back some of the things that we have done because of COVID. We did not have packet pickup in town. We plan to bring packet pickup back into town because we want people, you know, going and spending money in restaurants and staying in hotels. We held packet pickup on site last year because we just didn't know what we were going to be facing. So this year we plan to bring packet pickup back into town and really try to draw people in to spend their dollars in restaurants and staying in hotels. Because of the time of year, a lot of our participants, we do have quite a few that come out and bring their campers, et cetera, and they're allowed to do that. But if you look at, if you look at the percentage of folks who are staying in hotels, it's roughly about 40% of our total participants are staying in hotels. The other, you know, either coming in for the day or they are, you know, staying on site or they're local for that event. Questions? Oh my God, but you know, I will tell you, those are the prettiest pictures that we'll never use. Yeah, they're beautiful. Those pictures with Grindstone Lake, because like the trees were all white and all around the trail was white and the lake's blue. Like those those pictures are beautiful, and I think we've used them like once because, you know, it's like people don't want to come ride their bike in the snow. Not for 12 hours. Yeah, I mean, with the 40-miler, you know, the idea is they'll start in the morning and then they'll be done in the afternoon. And with the 6 hour, we're going to start around 10 and finish in the afternoon, and then it'll be in daylight. We'll have awards in daylight. People will still want to be around. We're going to bring music in. So it's you know, spending that time in the daylight hours that I think is one of the main reasons. That was in April. That was April. Yeah, it was a 12-hour. Yeah, it was a 12-hour day that it snowed. So it was, and the trails were amazing after that, because it got that moisture on it, and then everybody rode on it, and like the Grindstone Lake trails had never been in better shape after that day. Thank you.
We'll resume. All of you that do what? Did I miss one? Oh, I'm sorry. We will hold off for just a second. Did I miss it? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. That's how I got, yeah. Okay, I marked it off when Matt went through. My apologies. Next time you can just throw a pin at me or something. Next time just throw a pin or something at me. Hey.
I was going to say that, but Kelly is good too.
Thanks.
Now we're listening. We're reading. Yeah. Okay, so the reason that I'm doing this one and not Matt is because usually this is held by the foundation that we have. This year, the track is going to be the person with the money behind it, because this type of event takes a lot of funding. I mean, usually we break even on this event. I'm just going to throw that out there. This is an event that's been long-standing, running for 30 years. This year, we have a Pbr Sanctioned Rodeo instead of just our little rodeo that we put on last year. It was a huge draw, so we're going to be doing a 2-day rodeo event. We are looking for bigger headliners than what we've had in the past, but we are still in the planning stages. Every year, we bring children from the county and we bus them in to come to our event. I mean, it's full on us, the cost of that. We do get volunteers and some sponsorships, but that's why, one of the reasons that this event needs funding. We do work with Elevate Hotel and MGM Elegante. Probably every year we spend $30,000 plus in hotel rooms just for this event. Our budget from last year was $16,000. I do foresee our budget being higher this year. We don't have it all planned out yet, so I don't have the exact amount, but it was $16,000 last year. We work with a lot of the businesses here in Rideau. A lot of our entertainment that we bring into the track are local acts. I mean, this event is a huge event, but we work with a lot of local people to get everybody involved. We do have a new marketing agency, R&P, as Matt mentioned, and a lot funds will go to pay for the graphic art pieces that they do for all of our advertising. Do you have any questions for me? No, we usually have about 3,000 in attendance. Last year it was 2,000. I think it was due to us competing with the opening weekend of the Balloon Fiesta, and that being like some of the very few events that got to open and run last year. Through October 2nd. So it is a shorter event this year. We usually do 4 or 5 days. We're only going to be doing 3. No questions? All right, thank you.
There is one last, I forgot to write it down. It missed the agenda, but Fort Stanton Live, and I think we have, is it Robin or Steve? Steve?
Hi there. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for squeezing me into the agenda today. I'm Steve Duffy, and I'm the president of Fort Stanton, Inc. We're the friends group that runs Fort Stanton Live, our signature event each year. Unfortunately, we could not have that event for the last 2 years, so we may have to rebuild it a little bit, but in our last year of having the event, 3,000 attendees came, and that was our largest ever. It's an all-day event of living history with reenactors that come from as far away as Texas, but East Texas, and about 100 dressed reenactors come and camp out on our campgrounds for the weekend, and we do an all-day Saturday extravaganza of tours of the internment camp, lecturers speaking in the chapel about various topics of history-related topics to the fort. And we have a kids' corner, very, very active event for it's definitely a family event, and families come in carloads. Kids get in free, adults are $10. It's always the second Saturday of July, so that's July 9th this year. Gates open at 9, and it just goes all day with food vendors, bands play, and it's a really fun event if any of you have not attended it. It is definitely a charitable organization, Fort Stanton Inc. Every dollar we raise goes back into preserving the fort, sometimes via exhibits in the museum, or sometimes literally to fix buildings, or, we had a tin ceiling project where we restored the entire tin ceiling thanks to donors and proceeds from this event. There are community sponsorship opportunities. We work with local restaurants that may want to provide food and sell food for the day. Certainly like to partner with lodgers, and people do come from out of town to stay at this event. We do a survey in our big greeting tent that collects information about where folks come from, including their exact zip codes, where they're staying, whether it's an Airbnb or an RV or a hotel. And typically we share that information with your committee, via a bunch of pie charts and graphs, but we respect that there's so many requests this year that we can't share that with you, but just know that we collect that kind of post-event information, and it's very helpful for us to know where our advertising dollars are most effective, because we generally spend between 10 and 15,000 to advertise the event. And a majority of that is out of the area advertising. And since COVID hit so hard, we have built up and actually hired a contractor that handles our social media, since we were not providing this event in the last couple of years and our museum was closed for about a year. And we're happy to say that over 100,000 accounts have been reached via our social media just in, per month. So that's going to be an amped up asset to our, otherwise pretty strong advertising program for the event. I am happy to answer any questions.
Sorry, go ahead.
What is the amount requested?
4,000.
4,000.
Thank you.
All right. No questions. Steve, thank you very much. It's good to see you again.
Thank you for your consideration. Good to see everybody there today.
All right. Now I've got everybody right. Kelly? All right. With that, we'll take a 5-minute recess and refreshments. Okay. All right. All righty. We'll be back in 5. Let's head out.
Sorry to bug y'all, but did you forget about us in Zoom space?
All right, we'll move on to line item funding requests. We'll start out with Ruidoso's Visitor Center and Billy the Kid Visitor Center. Is that, okay. Didn't know if that was you or Tim.
And for my next trick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I had a brief conversation with Deborah yesterday, and, currently their contract is on the last year of the renewals. But one of the things that we want to consider moving forward, in October, we should have the Wingfield House complete. And we want to try to, put some of the display both at the Billy the Kid and the Wingfield under Tim Roberts' direction.
Okay.
But then work with the chamber to look at the visitor center operations, to incorporate the Wingfield House into it as well. So in the upcoming months, she has her proposed budget for this year, but in the upcoming months, we're going to have those discussions and then be coming back to the Lodgers Tax Board, for consideration of those operations as well.
Very good.
So I just wanted to put that out there. We haven't sat down and Tim did submit to me a operational plan for the Wingfield House.
Okay.
But I'd really like to start seeing on if we can incorporate their operations into that as well.
Great, great. Yeah, that'll be a great bookend.
Yeah, I know.
Out of town and in Midtown.
And that's something I had forgotten to mention about the Aspen Fest. We're hoping to have the Wingfield House grand opening on October 1st.
Oh, awesome. That'd be great.
Rideau was incorporated, and I can't remember the year, but it was on October 1st in 1940 something. So we're hoping to do a whole kind of past, present, future Rideau theme for Aspen Fest, and have that with the grand opening for Wingfield House. But I don't know, here's our budget for the Visitor Center and the Billy the Kid. Tim has been working really hard on getting a lot of the displays out at Billy the Kid redone. He's repainted. This paint out there is gorgeous. So it's really, those displays needed a lot of work. They were out there for quite a while. So the updating is going to be really awesome. We do, both visitor centers are open Monday through Saturday. We get the visitor center at the chamber, we do a lot more of fulfillment, so we send out, we have the postage that we add on at the end, but we send out visitor packets and relocation packets to people that call us and want information. We also do the mail out that the tourism department gives us, and that all comes from the visitor center at the chamber. The Billy the Kid is really basically a mini museum, so we get a lot of visitors that stop on their way into town or as they're going out and about just to look at the Billy the Kid visitor center. We have, I'm a person down at our village visitor center at the chamber. I'm hoping to get that hired before summer because it's going to really start picking up. I don't know. These are the budget for the visitor center. I did bump up the personnel just a little bit because of the increase in minimum wage. And so does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Deborah, how does this compare to normal pre-pandemic budget?
It's other than just a little bit bumped up from the minimum wage, it's pretty much the same.
Thank you.
It's about a 3% increase, I think, over last year's budget.
Okay.
Good deal. And then this will be readdressed, like you said, with the Wingfield House, and
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
thank you, Mr. Dodge. All right, thank you. Right, Ruidoso Police Department overtime, sitting patiently waiting.
Hence the overtime.
That's right, yeah.
Well, good morning, committee, board, village manager. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Lieutenant James Urban. Next to me is Sergeant Freeman. We're here to propose the FY '23 overtime. We're asking for $60,000. After seeing everybody do all the events and planning and everything, I think we kind of under budgeted that. No, I'm just kidding. But what we're looking at using it towards is obviously our initiative for the community policing, for our foot patrols through Midtown, be out there for the public to, see us, friendly faces. And the other events, I'll let you kind of go through those.
Obviously, they're going to be the ones that were talked about today, but our involvement is going to be planning and just making sure that our staffing is up to it in order to accommodate all of it. For instance, the bike races and the marathons and stuff will be involved with traffic control. There's really two options to do it. It's either the guys that are working that particular day, taking them off the street and focusing on what we need to be done, or we call in guys that are off, have them get some overtime, and they're just dedicated to that. They're not going to be called off to calls, anything like that. Obviously, the main attractions here, just that we have here, the Wibbit, the lakes, bring a ton of people in. The National Forest being right next to us. And then everything that's outside and that we don't facilitate, but Lincoln Days, everybody always forgets about Lincoln Days, but that brings in a lot of people who end up coming to Rideau. 4th of July in Capitan and the rodeo. All these other events that aren't in the village, but we end up seeing that traffic in Midtown, on the roads, everything like that. It's mainly going to be, to make sure that the citizens in Rideau are safe, the people that work in Rideau are safe, and then the people that visit Rideau are safe. That's our main goal.
We appreciate all that you guys do. I think the first year I was on, remind me, it was, just to show the growth of tourism, I think the overtime budget was like $25,000 the first year, and it's just grown, but it's just a direct reflection of how busy we are.
Absolutely.
We appreciate everything you guys do.
Absolutely.
I think it was at 40, maybe 40. I don't know, but
I
it's
thought the first year was like 30, and then it went to 40.
40,
and then
yeah. It's slowly been increasing as each of the events are added.
Right.
Because sometimes they don't know the great influx of people that come in, so it steadily growed, but.
And the other part, that we use it for is just the training that we provide for the community. We have the Citizens Police Academy that we use it for. We are active shooter instructors, so, we take time to go out to different businesses and utilize it that way as well in schools. So.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate all that you guys do.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Very visible during busy times.
Oh, absolutely. Any questions for us?
None for me.
All right. Well, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Canning Property Funding Request. He raised his eyebrows. This is going to be good.
Good morning. I only have one request today. As you all are probably aware, the village made an offer and is currently closing on the property and the intersection of Country Club Drive and Sutterth. And so, we've been making plans for some kind of immediate use of that property. The plan is to close on the 10th, and we'd look to start incorporating some events in that area almost immediately. We haven't really, we scheduled a meeting, but had to postpone it, but we're looking at a handful of events throughout the year. We're looking at continuing the use of the zip line in that area. One of the best uses that I see in the immediate future would be the addition of parking. where I have a contract with a planner to look at incorporating 40 to 50 additional parking spaces that could be used for the Midtown area. In conjunction with that, we'll also be working with Region 9 to put together a parking agreement to also utilize some parking in that adjacent property that they recently acquired. But some community events that we're hoping that we could bring into the area is adding, some possibly Halloween, of course, some decorations for the holidays for Christmas.
Some live music events just to increase that energy in Midtown. We're also looking at maybe doing something in addition to the Aspen rally, just to continue that energy and throughout the whole district.
Awesome.
And the other aspect too is it'll be another potential space for community events. Because right now, Wingfield Park is our main event space. And then this will be another additional space that would be available to the community as well.
We've talked about the stage, the portable stage that we're purchasing, having that as a venue for it, for more smaller scale music events.
And so I ultimately, I didn't attach a dollar amount request, so I'll take anything that's left over. No, but, so the village and probably Tim and Judy can speak more on the available funding, how they're planning on purchasing this. But I think, with the benefits to the community with events and the benefit to Midtown for additional space that we would like to request some assistance with the purchase of that property.
So, Chairman, if I could, if you look at the lodger's tax report, and there was only a preliminary report in the packet, but as of March 31st, we had already collected $2 million in lodger's tax, which is $400,000 over our original budget of $1.6 million. And so going forward, looking at the prior months, we average about $200,000 per month, and we still have 3 more months in this fiscal year. So my recommendation for the purchase would be to put in $600,000 of the property. And I think hopefully with all the events planned, maybe we might even break that $200,000 mark. So.
Mr. Chairman, in addition to that, your cash balance is sufficient to cover that.
I was going to say,
So I concur with Judy's recommendation. The rest of the funds would come out of general fund.
Do you have anything to say about parking or anything? Oh, that was a discussion.
He asked me about, do we have anything to say about parking? Yay. That's, that's, I'm glad that you all are considering that. It's going to be very helpful. The biggest question I have is according to statute, and I guess, Tim, you probably look at these things prior to, them hitting our committee, but do we have the authority to, appropriate the money in this way for this purpose?
Mr. Chairman, yes, you do. It's a tourist-related attraction, and that would be the intent of that property, is to be used for different events and tourist-related attractions and whatnot. So yes.
Just for your benefit, according to lodger's tax statutes, because we charge the 5%, we have to allocate 40% of the proceeds to heads and beds, advertising, promotional activities, and then we could use the other 60% to offset police overtime, facility infrastructure improvements to tourist-related facilities, and some transportation issues. So we spend more than 40% on heads and beds, so this would qualify as a non-head and bed allowable expense.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Rodney, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, brochures, trade, I would assume these two are kind of rolled together, or maybe not.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Here for support, moral support.
Was that?
Is this you or you want to go?
I can go.
This might be.
You
I'll-
go.
I'll start with trade shows. and
Okay,
You can
you-
take on from there.
Yeah.
So trade shows, you can see, there's a new number in that 23 year because I plan on attending quite a few trade shows and association events, starting out with the New Mexico Hospitality Association and some national convention and tourism trade show and associations. So that number would include memberships, actually traveling and going to these events throughout the year.
Some of the other line items they're listed, so brochure expenses. We, in the last year, did an order for pocket guides and trail maps, so we feel good in those areas, but we do still need the distribution of those, so that's what those line items there that are listed. Some of the memberships that Elizabeth had mentioned in terms of the Hospitality Association and Ski New Mexico.
That's okay.
And then things just related to the website, our email campaign provider MailChimp, the webcams that you all approved a few meetings back, and then just some of the domain and hosting expenses related to the website.
What was on this spreadsheet I have, trail map reprint doesn't have a visitor's guide and trail map, they don't have a dollar amount?
Yeah, we, in speaking with the chamber, they're set right now in terms of the pocket guides, and we had done a big order, when was that, right before COVID hit, that we got a bunch in? Yeah. Or we still had some of the old ones, and then we had ordered the new ones, and then COVID hit, and so so anyway, we feel that we're okay right now in terms of the amount of pocket guides we have in storage. And then the trail map reprint, we just did that last fiscal, so we don't anticipate needing to do a reprint of either of those in the upcoming year. And then looking at photography and videography, this is just to set aside payment for some of our local photographers that we utilize a lot of their assets, or if we need them to go out to do a photo shoot. There's a couple new line items in there. Jared Foster and his family relocated to Rideau, so we're happy to have him and his talents here. And so he has put together a proposal for us for some ongoing photography. He does a lot of great outdoor active, and so we are always needing more of that. And then the other thing we're in discussion with him about is creating a YouTube series about his family and their activities in Rideau, so in New Mexico and kind of in the area. And then, do you want to speak to the New Mexico?
Sure. And Ross Marks, who is the director of the film side of things at New Mexico State University, has expressed interest in bringing his top students here to do 8 video segments. And so that's the 12,000 that you see. So I think that's an awesome way to connect with other people within the state and bring them here and highlight what we have to offer.
So it's a pretty significant increase that we're asking for in terms of photo and videography moving forward, but in the last year we have 2 new commercials, a winter and summer commercial, so that's something we don't anticipate needing that in this upcoming fiscal, but we do need to continually add to our photo and video library. And then the last item was just promotional items, with Elizabeth's increase in going to trade shows and with just additional events happening around town. We want to have some available swag. To be able to hand
We are
out.
swagless. We need to
We
get
don't have
some
any
swag.
swag.
Yeah.
But based off the, increase we've had in terms of lodger's tax, we know this is an increase in overall budget compared to previous years. But especially coming out of COVID and with events coming back, we feel like it's necessary to increase that line item.
Yeah, because a lot of these events we don't have good footage of.
Correct, yeah. And it's an asset. When we were looking at the budget, we're like, okay, what can we do to bring assets to our vault rather than spend on things that it's a one and done? This is something that would continue on.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, so Elizabeth, I know we're like-minded in terms of results-based performance, and so, but like you said, some of these are assets that we're investing in for, that can be, capitalized over future years or utilized. And so, but my question is what's your success measure? I mean, is you're spending an additional, it's a bunch of money to increase the budget by, and some good justification, but do you have anything in mind that these certain expenditures, part of it you're catching up, part of it you're taking advantage of the funding where it is today that may not, maybe next year we come in and the lodger's tax looks completely different and we have to do something a little bit different. And these are good assets to spend things on to leverage. But my question is in your mind, do you have some ideas on what we might see in terms of increased either visitors to the community, events, things like that? Or are you really just kind of building your vault and your ammo at this point? What are you thinking?
Dual, actually. I do believe it's going to take me probably 5 years to see the value of what I'm going to start doing. I think connecting with human beings in New Mexico is going to be critical to how Rideau comes on the map, because we really haven't been out there with the people that we need to show ourselves to get the attention. So once we get the attention and the conversations happening, I think the rest of it will fall into place. But that does take time. It's relationships. So my goal is to drive the relationships. I think the investment in like trade shows, conventions, being in front of people, having conversations, understanding what Rideau is and what we have to offer, it's that personal conversation that I think is going to make a difference.
Thank you. Are there areas that you're looking at? I mean, we've kind of lightheartedly joked in the past that you could almost shut off every bit of marketing for 6 months and you'd still have West Texas, El Paso. There's certain areas that are going to come here no matter what you do. I mean, during the pandemic, we had to do these ads that said almost don't come here, and we still had people coming here. So, we had moved into Tucson, a little bit into Phoenix over the last 2 or 3 years. Is there any area that you want to focus on now? Taking into consideration that we do have, primarily it's West Texas, the longer holidays, you're going to get Dallas and San Antonio and Austin, and those still have a lot of potential there. But farther away from us, is there anywhere that you kind of think would be a good place to?
We had talked about Arizona. I think there's a pocket of New Mexicans that really have missed out, and it was shocking to me. I will have conversations, and they will say, "Where is Rideau?" And I cannot tell you how often this happens. I was just in Las Cruces, and the sales girl said, "Where is Rideau?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we're right up the street." So I think, to be honest, I would like to start here and then see where we go from there, because I think there's a large market to be had that we just haven't gotten their attention yet, and we need to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I remember, I guess it was one of the Lincoln County days, I went into the tourism kind of department, where they have all everything, and there was a big cutout of Billy the Kid, and I mentioned something about it, and the lady said, "I don't know anything about Billy the Kid." And I'm thinking, like, this is 3 hours south of me. So we've had a lot of guests that are from northern New Mexico that have never been down here, have never been to White Sands, don't know about Billy the Kid, don't know, it's incredible. So, yeah, very good.
So, Mike, to your question of like, how are we going to measure things and, how are we going to go from there? I think that Tucson is a good example of where we continue to put effort into Arizona, and we're actually seeing more of an increase in traffic to the website and on social from Phoenix than we are from Tucson. And so even though the Tucson buses we have done through the co-op from the state, and they love it because it's really beautiful, creative in the way that we've done it. That's something that we're considering not doing this year through the co-op, because we haven't seen we have seen an increase in overall traffic from Arizona, but like Tucson, is it worth that investment? So that's something where we're looking at the data that we have and making adjustments like as we go forward. But I would just also, add that yes, we get the West Texas and El Paso and trying to increase more in New Mexico, but also make more of an effort to target some of those bigger metropolitans. So the Dallas, the Houston, the Austin, the San Antonio. Like you said, Ellen, we get them for the long weekends, but I think just coming out of COVID and with remote work being more of a thing, you know, I think we're starting to see some of that already. I mean, just this last week, I saw plates from Missouri and Nevada and Michigan, and so I think, like as the world's opening up, I think we're going to get more of that. It's just the balance of wanting people to come here, but then maybe not all at once.
Well, and I really appreciate you and your company's, you know, metric-driven approach to things. And so we know we have results and we make strategic decisions on, well, that worked or it didn't, or let's put more, whatever. But I do also like, Elizabeth, your comment about, I mean, you think about New Mexico, half this population's in Bernalillo County and the other half is spread out. So, I mean, if we're not, I mean, my gosh, we're in their backyard. And if they don't know about us, which I agree they don't, huge opportunity. So, thank you.
I think travel is one of the things that we need to focus on, is how to get people here easier, faster, better. So if we're targeting within the state, it's easier, right? We know we can do that. So the next phase is, how do we get people from these different places to fly in here easier? What do we do about getting the rental cars to us in volume? How do we conquer this? And that's why I said, give me 5 years, because we really have to work on the infrastructure as a whole to complement the marketing that we're doing. Because if I sell somebody to come here, they have to be able to get here. So that's something that's part of the bigger plan.
Very good.
Just a point of order, whoever's preparing this, my 21-year-old self can't even read that. So a little bigger would be helpful.
All right. Marketing and advertising. We'll move on to that.
Yes. So this year we are requesting $500,148 for the overall total for advertising. This is about what we ended up with last year, if you'll remember, with the additional co-op dollars that we got through the state. The council approved that and added just to the overall budget, so we're pretty close in line to what we were at last year. So just kind of going through the different media buys, we have allocated about $20,000 to either print or digital elements with an outdoor active focus. You know, so I think the trail running, the mountain bike races, some of those things are good examples of that. The annual guide, so that is part of the Ski New Mexico website, and that's digital ads that we run on their site year round. So, you know, ski focus in the winter, but then also they have quite a bit of traffic actually year round, so we can highlight some of our mountain biking trails and assets in that way. Out of home this year, we are, so to Elizabeth's point of wanting to target New Mexicans, so this last year we had the digital board in El Paso that we used to highlight different events. We're considering adding another one in Albuquerque for the same reasons. So, you know, for example, the Cinco de Mayo celebration coming up, we'd have it on the board rotating in El Paso, and then we'd have it on the board rotating in Albuquerque, or Party in the Pines, things like that, where we could get that drive-in weekend traffic from here in the state. And like I said, both of those are digital. We're actually talking to our rep about having two rotate in Albuquerque, just because it is a bigger market. Moving on to the social budget, this is a decrease in that overall amount, and I'll touch on that in a second of why that's gone down. But we'd look to use this mainly to highlight other events, you know, outside of the ones that people are requesting funds for today, but what are some of the village events that, and those Discover, Rideau, so branded ads, that's what would come out of that budget. Television, so this last year we have, and currently in this fiscal, have been running ads in both El Paso and Lubbock. They were related to the Summer and Winter Olympics. Those are what those buys were related to. So we do want to have some money allocated for kind of special TV viewing events like that. We don't have it where it's, you know, flighted for the whole year, or even for a season like we've done in the past, but for high viewership times. So the The big increase, though, is with the New Mexico co-op line item, at the 355,000 roughly. So this year, the tourism department has a 2-to-1 match. Last year it was 1-to-1, and basically they had told us, you guys need to ask for more. Like, we have money, you need to ask for more. And so we are in the process of submitting that application for the request for this upcoming year. And one of the areas that we're really excited about is they're offering a red chili package. And so within that package are social, digital buys, Google search ads, Google display ads, TripAdvisor, connected TV.
Correct.
And one of the things that, working with the agency the state has hired to facilitate this program, one of the great things about this package is they can move money around within those. So if we see that TripAdvisor is performing better than connected TV, they'll have the ability to move that money over. So we're paying the 355, that would be what the village would be on the hook for, but let me see if I can bring it up. I thought I had it up. But the state would have, I think it's over $1 million.
Wow.
That we would have, and here, let me see. I thought I had it pulled up. Here we go.
There it is.
Yeah, it's a little bit over $1 million.
Okay.
For the total buy. And that's not like management, because that was one of the questions we had. So how much of that is the agency like managing and facilitating the program? That is all in market buy.
Okay.
So so the state would put up, if we were to be approved for the entire amount, it would be a little over 700,000.
Okay.
Plus some flex dollars that we're also asking for. So, within that, they would have custom written articles. They would provide some influencers that would come down to do like a 4-season campaign. There's the digital package that I mentioned before. One of the things that we're excited about is in the New Mexico True Adventure Guide, there'd be a 2-page spread, but the New Mexico magazine is doing this destination, like 8-page pull-out outdoor active section with some digital involved. And we had a call with them, and so we're excited about that. And then also getting back into some of those outlets that we had done previously but hadn't been in the budget, Texas Monthly, Dallas Magazine. So trying to get some more of that affluent traditional media buys that we can't necessarily go out and get or afford on our own, but through the co-op we can. A digital board in West Texas, a digital board in Dallas, and then kind of like the Tucson buses, some other things that we're going to request funding for is SEO services for doing some work on the back end of our Discover Rideau site. You might remember we had an agency a couple years ago that was doing that work for us, and then when the pandemic hit and we had to cut our budget, we haven't worked that back in. We've been utilizing some of the services through the state the last year or two, but that's something that really we need to take a deep dive in. So that's something that we're going to submit for flex funding requests. Some of our military advertising in terms of the digital signage, and then the digital boards that this last year we had previously bought within our budget, we're looking to submit through the co-op. So it's a good mix of digital, out of home, print, travel guides, kind of a little bit of everything. But the overall budget request or line item is pretty similar to what we have in this fiscal year. But the impact is going to be pretty huge.
That's terrific.
We have to submit the application. It has to be approved, but we feel pretty good about it.
Very good, very good. Any questions?
No, that's awesome. Keep it rolling.
No.
Excellent. I don't think we have. Get to it. All right. Moving on, let's see, discussion and possible action, fiscal year, that should be 23 lodgers tax budget worksheet.
That should be 23.
That really should be fiscal year 23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go get it off the printer, that way you guys can have it in front of you.
Hot off and tiny.
Perfect. You guys are going to recruit younger members.
How are we gonna go, I don't remember how we did this part last year. Are you guys gonna do the funding request, like that section to figure out, or do you wanna do overall
just
and
kind
then
of-
do funding request?
Mr. Chairman, what I would do is, that section really needs to, this next part, it says 2022, but I think the intent was to look at
23.
the 2022 requests that you have. and-
Oh, that's right, we need to.
In addition to 2023. So on the minutes, Melissa, if we could just correct it to say 2022/2023. And my recommendation is that you would, go over your
2022 funding request.
As you recall, last year, when our previous tourism director was presenting, he presented the events, and then, not all the, because whatever reason, not all the entities that conduct events had submitted. So you all appropriated, I believe it was additional $70,000.
I think so.
You set it aside. So that money, was with the intent that I think you all knew or anticipated that there was going to be additional event requests coming in for 2022. We went back and researched it, and that's what the minutes reflected. So my recommendation is that you would start off, Judy, with talking about how much money is left in that 2022. And then the Lodgers Tax Board should consider those requests that you have coming in and make a decision on what you're going to fund. And then we can move on to 2023.
Sounds good, thank you. Yeah, that was something, I forgot about that. We didn't have as many proposals last year just because events didn't know if they would go off during the summer, early fall, and so we allocated for 2022 an extra, like, Village Manager Dodge said, 70,000 for later in the year in case things came back, and they obviously have, so.
And so, some of the events did come in, like, the bike rally last year, you all had a special meeting, and they came back and you appropriated some money. So there is still some cash balance that you have left in that line item for, to consider the events that were requested today for 2022.
So Chairman, when we looked at the special events for the year, when you take up, a lot of the money will be expended within the next few months. So when you look at the available funding over there, you would have about $67,000 available to fund fiscal year 22 events. And that's because there were some savings on some other events that we had done in-house. So that's why the amount is a little bit different. So currently, the special event budget requests for fiscal year 22 are $22,500. So I would entertain any recommendations or how you would like to fund those events. And these ones are the ones that will be under the old funding, the old funding process.
So help me understand, I'm looking at a 9-month, ending March 31st, and then I'm looking at the fiscal year 23, and you just mentioned 67,000 available. Is there another document or something that?
So, within, if you look at, let's see. Well, let's just describe those two, sheets, that sheet I passed out. When we're doing the budget, we actually look over a 3-year cycle. And so what I passed out to you is not only the budget, but how the fiscal year ended. As you can see, the first budget that we're looking at for all the accounts would be fiscal year 2020, the budget and the actual. And then the next two columns would be fiscal year 21 budget and actual. And then, of course, the fiscal year 22 current year budget and actual. Now, just doing yours between the prior two fiscal years, those are 12 months, whereas the current year will only be 9. So if you're looking at these special events line item, which is 214-165-52068, special events, you can see that the budget is 198,700, and year-to-date, we had paid out 113. We had allocated most of those funds were already allocated at a prior meeting. However, either the event hasn't happened or it was canceled, so there's still going to be some funding coming out of there. But when we take that all out and I look at that available balance, that's where I come up with the 67.
Mr. Chairman, Mike, what you don't see there is the encumbrances that are currently under contract.
Yes.
I think that's where your difference of approximately $20,000 is. So you still have, unencumbered, not under contract, about 60, what did you say, 67,000?
67.
67,000.
Fantastic, thank you. So do you need a motion to approve special event budget requests? Is that where we're at?
I think so, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we'd recommend that you take them one at a time.
Yeah.
And, the 2022 requests.
So we just moved down the road.
Gotta make it difficult.
That's right. Aspen Cash Motorcycle Rally for 5,000.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request for 5,000 for the Aspen Cash Motorcycle Rally.
Okay.
I second that.
All right. Any discussion? No. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the Rideau Downs racetrack request for 2,500 for the Home and Garden Show.
I second that.
Mr. Village Manager, do I need to?
Mr. Chairman, you could take them all at once.
I was going to say, man.
Like, it's your prerogative.
I misunderstood.
No, I did too. I thought we were going to do one, but, and I really don't have a problem this year looking at, even going into the fiscal year 23, I was thinking last night and then listening to everybody today and having not seen a lot of these faces in 2 years, but it's almost like we're starting over. Last year we weren't sure when we were doing this if we would even have events. The year prior we didn't have events, and so it's for some of these it's kind of starting back and trying to regenerate momentum, and so yeah, for the fiscal year 22, everything looks pretty exciting to end the year with. So do we have a motion to approve all fiscal year 2022 special event budget requests as stated?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of all special event budget requests fiscal year 22 as stated.
Do we have a second?
And I second all of this.
Right, any discussion? All right, all. Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Saved about 15 minutes right
Yeah,
there.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're trying to make it to lunch because we ordered you all lunch. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Yes, sir. Now we'll move on to special event budget requests. Sorry.
We would need the recommendation. Did we do the recommendation for the money for the property? Or did we talk about?
Mr. Chairman, next, Judy, if you can give our projections, and then we could give a projected revenue, and then you could go through the 2023 requests and approve the request.
That's right, because the property is for 2022. Is that correct?
It's for 22, right?
Yes.
But I think you need to go over the revenue side first, so they know how much money that they're going to be working with. So I would go over your recommended budget first.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if we look at that budget sheet that I handed out, you can see that currently when I did a projection on lodger's tax and looking through, I have 10 years, as you can see in the monthly report. So we can see that the lodger's tax has steadily increased each year. And looking at projections and
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I understand now what Judy was talking about. The property request is actually a 2022 property request.
So let's go ahead and do that one.
I apologize, I was confused on that.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Do you want to explain again the last 3 months? Yeah.
Sure. Let me get my. Oh, it's right in front of me. I don't know where I'm looking. Okay. Got me a little just razzled there. Okay, so when you look at the lodger's tax report for the March 31st ending month, we are 75% through our fiscal year, 9 months. And the total lodger's tax collected was a little bit over $2 million, which is right now $400,000 over what we had projected originally. And when you look at each individual month, there was no month that we were less than $200,000 in collections. So taking that same theory, we will probably hit at least the $200,000 each month going forward, and we have a total of 3 more months left in the fiscal year. So we will have, in addition to our balance in the budget of probably another $600,000. If you look.
I'm sorry, is this, March is 171, is that still being, am I looking at it right?
I'll have to look at it. That was a preliminary. I wasn't, when we were getting the agenda together, we just pulled it, so it could have changed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've been tracking those numbers and we're right at 2 million right now.
Okay.
So right now, currently, and now you got to remember that we haven't paid out all the contracts. In the bank, we have $1.8 million at the end of March. So if we ended up paying out all our purchase orders and all the contracts, it would total another $500,000. So right now, if you take the 1.8 that we currently have, and if we paid out everything, $500,000, then you would have 1.3 plus another 600,000 in the bank. So we're in a good position right now to recommend that the purchase of the canning property would be at the 600,000.
Okay. So do we have a motion? Let's see, go back over here. Let's see, a motion to fund the canning property purchase funding request.
I make a motion to fund the canning property request.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah, I do have another question.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm sorry, I'm real slow on these things.
That's
but
okay.
help me understand. So, if we do this in conjunction with the approvals that we just did for the remainder of '22, will we have, and I understand we're guessing on what our last 3 months are going to be, but do we have that cushion that the village manager referred to prior year to be able to fund some additional requests here over the last 3 months? In other words, where are we at? Does that make sense?
Judy, if I can take
Okay.
that. Mr. Chairman, what she was explaining, just in cash balance alone, which you have in reserve, is more than sufficient to actually fund it. Built into your current budget, she's not referencing those dollars, so if there is other type of requests come in, you still have money to work for those type of things.
Is there a target reserve number that we try to keep?
No.
There isn't a reserve requirement, but,
We have to use lodger's tax proceeds within 2 years.
Right.
So technically, our goal would probably be to spend all our money as fast as we can. But I tend to like to keep at least a couple $100,000 in reserve just in case something comes up during the year. In the past fiscal years, the board has been really frugal, and we've always had at least $800,000 left at the end of the year on the books.
And so if I'm looking at the fiscal year end, June of '23 expenditures, historically, it looks like we come in expenditures over revenues?
Yes.
Okay, and that's due to the big reserve that we have?
So right now, so what, on that worksheet, what we're doing is when I present my budget to not only council but to DFA, I have to show usually a zero budget, except we could use cash for one-time expenditures like building improvement or something like that. But what we try to do here on lodger's tax is get as close of our revenues to our expenditures as close to our revenues so that we show that our operations are usually running in line with the proceeds that we're getting. And then if something happens that we need a one-time expenditure, then that's when we'll go to cash.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we actually budget conservatively. Just like last year, you know, we knew that we finished the year right about 2.2 million. We actually budgeted at 1.6. So it looks like your expenditures are exceeding your revenues, but they're actual budgeted revenues. And you continue to exceed your budgeted revenues. On my projections, I'm projecting that you're gonna hit at least, 2.4 million this year.
Thank you.
Nice.
So I guess we gotta take the vote now.
So we will go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. I think that's everything for 2022, correct? Yes. Okay. So now we will start on 2023.
Okay, so when you look at the budget worksheet again, the projection on the revenue is at 2 million. We do collect some lodger's tax penalties and a little bit of interest on some of the monies that are in our savings account. Any reserves over the required operations, I usually try to put in savings, and however, you know how savings accounts are, they're very low, so that's why the amount is not that substantial. Going through the next couple of accounts, the budget for lodger's tax is broken up between promotional and non-promotional activities, just so that I can keep track and make sure that I'm spending, or that we're spending the correct percentage on promotional activities versus the non-promotional, what we talked about, the 40-60 split. So one of the first account number is contractual services. We're budgeting it at 25,000, and I believe those are Alan Barone's contracts. She currently does some web design at $12,000 a year, but I believe there's maybe a change. I'm not exactly sure on why it's 25,000.
I don't recall what else was coming out of that line item. Do you remember, out of contractual services?
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that, our placement on the way that our, Discovery Rideau comes up, we're coming in second oftentimes. So I believe the strategy that had been talked about was increasing, some of the way that we're managing that, and it's going to call for some contract changes with Alan.
Didn't we increased it
last year?
Meetings ago, yeah.
So this is what we're projecting for an increase for this upcoming year to try to, strengthen our efforts in that area.
Yeah, a lot of it is for like the content development and additional work she does on the back end, but then also how I mentioned before about, trying to get some of the flex dollars to cover some additional SEO work. But if that doesn't go through, we wanted to have it allocated somewhere in our budget that we can engage those contractors in that work.
The next account is media planning. These are the two contracts with the agency. There is a contract for design and then for promotion and tourism. We did pass at the last, we'll be talking about it at our council meeting next Tuesday. When we were going through our strategic planning process, and the village usually does that in January, and Elizabeth was coming on as a new tourism director, and these contracts run with the fiscal year, and we are on our last renewal of those contracts, and so we would have had to start getting the RFP and the scope of work together sometime in January and February. And when staff got together, well, we wanted to get Elizabeth's input on the scope of work and to come up with a really expanded scope of work of what we were going to do in the strategy for the upcoming, not only fiscal year, but probably the next 3. And so we felt that we weren't going to have enough time to develop that scope, so we approached the agency and asked her if we could extend the current contract for 6 months, which would take it out from July to December, so that it would give staff time and Elizabeth to get her feet wet in order to get her head around about what those contracts need to entail for the scope of work, and the agency did agree to it. So right now, we just currently put in the cost of what the contract are currently at for the fiscal year. However, when we do publish the RFP, which would probably be sometime in September, and have them on board by December or January 1st, we might have to come back if the prices increase for a budget adjustment, but in order to get started, we need some monies allocated, so.
Sends to you guys. Yep.
The next line item, which is the convention ad sales contract, this is the contract with the MCM Elegante. And, oh, did I miss the visitor center? Okay. The visitor center right now, I believe Deborah just submitted the increase. The current contract is at like $158,950, but she did mention the actual increase of like $4,900 for the minimum wage, so we put that number in there. And that not only covers the visitor center, the Rideau Valley one, but also the Billy Kid, just to keep in mind. Mr. Dodge did say we'll go back out to negotiate for the Wingfield, so they'll probably, after the fiscal year, be an adjustment, or if we can get it quick, it might be able to be included within this budget. The next contract that comes out on the promotion side is the convention center sales contract. This is with the MCM Elegante to help with advertising, to bring conventions to the convention center and stuff, and that totals $65,000 a year. Going forward, Elizabeth and Kelly went over the brochures and the trade show, $20,000. I believe it was in your packet.
We actually had a request to increase that to the 95,000.
95.
Trade show, the 20,000 right there. Oh yeah, that should be 95.
You just wrecked my numbers. No, just kidding.
Could I back up 1 second, Judy? Could you ask, on the funding for the convention ad sales contract, you know, it's been pretty flat over the years, but then it looks like, if I'm reading this right, the budget for the current fiscal year that we're in was 92, is that right?
Yes, and I think it's, I'll have to go look at that. I was supposed to look at that yesterday. I looked back at the contract. I don't know if there's, I believe that number is wrong, because I went to the actual contract itself, and it is the 59,000.
Thank you.
Judy, it wouldn't be a budget meeting if you didn't have to change.
I thought I was gonna get, I was gonna be like, yeah, no changes.
You were throwing a perfect game.
Yeah, right. And then, of course, the marketing. The only thing, I might still have a saving grace because a majority of that is through a grant, right? So what is that grant amount? Because I don't have that in here, so we're good.
So out of the 500,000, I keep pulling up the wrong sheet. Oh, please.
Mr. Chairman, Kelly, what are the total, you know, because there's so much coming in from the grant you explained, and then we have to match so much.
The overall total that
It's a 355.
is the $355,148. That's what we would pay the state
Is that for this year or next year?
next year.
Okay. I
Or
thought next-
we haven't been approved for it yet from the state. That's what we're requesting. So our overall application to the state is due tomorrow for next fiscal. But the overall total on marketing and advertising with co-op dollars and our own budget would be the $500,148. We just did it that way because that's how the council approved it last year. Because last year we had our marketing and advertising budget and then the council approved it was a little over 100,000 that was going to the co-op program, and you just added it to that line item.
So are you saying that the actual advertising would be 800?
No, the actual advertising would be the 500,000.
So,
There's the co-op, and then.
so we won't get any money back, right? Is that what you're saying? Because like now with the grant, we got,
For the buses, we got money back. So there are 3 line item requests that we are asking for flex, so they fall into that flex.
oh,
funding.
okay.
So there would be 3 line items that we would get money back on.
So how much?
But the way I've included in the budget is that overall partner commitment.
I'll get with you
Okay.
and we'll look at that.
I would recommend that we just go ahead and approve the 500,000 as a placeholder.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the grant agreements come in through the co-op and we understand exactly how they're gonna fund that.
Okay.
Then we would increase their budget to reflect the
Okay.
co-op grant.
Yeah, because that could go, I mean, we might not get approved for, the 1 million that we're asking for. I mean, we're going to get
Yes.
approved for all of
We
it.
are going to get approved.
Yeah, and normally until we get approved, you can't make those commitments budgetarily. But, we can put that in as a placeholder and then as they get approved, then we can recognize it.
Okay.
And we should-
You would be getting a bar once we get that grant agreement.
And we'll know, what that line item that amount is before the end of this fiscal, so
Okay,
we'll know what we're awarded in June.
okay.
As soon as we get the grant agreement, then Judy would just process a budget resolution and bring that back to the Lodgers Tax Board.
My first budget adjustment for 23. I was trying not to do a lot of them in July.
But look, we'll just do it this one time.
Just once.
I will never come back to you.
Well, that's common practice. You can't budget what you don't have.
Yeah.
so.
So, the next line item, we just popped in 120 for special events. Now that may or may not be the amount that you actually allocate. But that, totals, the promotional, part of the budget. And then now we're gonna go to the non-promotional. In the contract services, we do pay our match to Zia-Trans because that's one of the allowable expenses under the statute. The past 2 years have been a small amount, but before we used to pay about 20,000 for their match to get the funding from DOT for the buses. I think we're gonna have to pay the higher amount, so that's what I put in the budget. However, we might not have to pay that full 25, so that's just an estimate right now until they come. The crazy thing about it is, we really don't know what the actual amount is because when they come to council, it's 2 years out for the grants. So, and then by the time the grants get awarded, so hopefully closer to the end of the fiscal year, I'll have the exact amount of what we're gonna have to pay in the new fiscal year. We do actually pay the software, the MuniRes software, which tracks all the short-term rentals and collects lodgers tax payments out of here, and that software maintenance agreement is at $55,000. And then, of course, I put in the police overtime at the request of $60,000. And then the next line item, and these were just plugs in order to get to a balanced budget. We know that there will be some requests from, you know who. Where is he? The guy in the corner?
Yep.
We didn't see any, and we're trying to train him to plan at the beginning of the year so that we don't call you back for so many meetings and stuff. So we had just set aside money in the amount of $250,000 for some projects.
Which doesn't mean he doesn't have to come back.
Yeah. So, but that amount can change too. It's just a placeholder. And again, remember that this is just a budget at this point in time. We can always make changes after it, and as long as we stay balanced. But going on to the next one, currently, the general fund collects an administrative fee to process the lodger's tax processing of the receipts coming in. And so in the past, we had taken a 10%, but when we were looking and redirecting the budget for this year, we were looking at a 5% because, as you know, we moved the tourism director out of this budget and we're actually paying it out of the general fund. So it was management's decision to cover the balance of her salary and some of the expenses. So at 5%, it wasn't exactly covering it all the way. So we were going to request that we do 6%, which would be the $120,000, especially since we're trying to start the special events fund as a revolving one. So right now that figures at 6% of revenues. And then, of course, another place card is to start the special events fund, where eventually the thought is that we give a couple years of seed money, and then as we start doing events like the Vines in the Party in the Pines and the Cinco de Mayo, that we'll start getting momentum to do bigger events like that, and then hopefully within a few more years, the lodger's tax won't have to give any more seed money because it'll be self-sufficient. So that's the theory. So we are allocating $250,000. There is another transfer to a debt service fund. We have a loan with these funds for the convention center remodel, and the debt service fund is $126,000 a year, and I believe we have like 7 more years paying on that. So in a nutshell, the non-promotional right now are at $887,000. So the total budget of expenditures is $2,009,000 with the amounts as they are.
Mr. Chairman,
Well, with the.
Mr. Chairman, Judy, you missed the 75 that you increased, so, you know, your budget comes down, your available or your surplus comes down to 3,000.
Yeah, $3,732. So we're still good.
Mr. Chairman, Judy, didn't we approve like 3 concerts or something last meeting? Where's that budgeted in here?
It's in that special event fund.
In 2022.
Right.
It's another fund itself. It's $215. I didn't include it, but I can email it out to you. It was like, gosh, what was it?
It's part of the, what you have listed as the
76.
6 in 2022. And that you know, came out to like 300 and some thousand. I don't have the exact numbers.
So that money will be spent in fiscal year 22?
No, some of it will actually be spent in 2023.
Right.
But for lodger's tax purposes, that money's out the door,
She'll have that rolling over.
into the new fund.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
So right now, if you want to go back to,
Judy, I'd recommend that they recommend to approve this budget and then go back and fund the special event requests.
okay.
But Mr. Chairman, it would be my recommendation that you do include in the motion that 6% increase from 5%.
And then where did we land on the brochures trade show, line items ending in 64?
Mr. Chairman, Mike, that's why we increased an additional 75,000. So the
So
total
we do need to
bottom.
do that.
Yeah, the total bottom line increases by 75.
So it's gonna be 95 total.
Gotcha.
Does he have to say that in the recommendation? Does he have to say that increase? Okay.
We-
You have to do the yeah.
Okay. So really, the only modification from this would be the 95
Yes.
on that one line item. So you need a motion to approve?
So we need a motion to approve the fiscal year 2023 budget with what, an adjustment to 95? Do I need to, yeah. Yeah, because you had to type it.
Yeah.
Did a adjustment to the brochures and trade show line item from 20,000 to 95,000, and taking into consideration the 6%
Admin
increase.
admin fee.
Admin fee, yes. So that was a lot of words. I'm sorry.
So can you guys live with it if I just say so moved? Okay, so moved.
Second.
I second.
All right. Good to go. So now we go down the list of special budget requests, special event budget requests.
I would also recommend that you leave some funds available for any new events that are created within the fiscal year, because that was really easy if the money was allocated for that.
Did you total up? If you totaled this up, just.
I do, I have it.
84? Is it 84?
Oh, I have 91.
Uh-oh.
Someone's
Oh, that's because I included 15% in there for reserve for future funding in mine.
Oh, okay.
Oh. So
There you go.
these right here would be 84. 84, okay. And then if we increase 15%, I'm sorry, for future, what would that be?
15,000 for future, it puts us at 91.
No, 84 plus.
Well, they would
Oh,
know.
yeah, I guess.
Well,
15% or 15,000?
mine is 15,000, so maybe we have different.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Judy's talking about the tiered system. It's our understanding that you approved that, so are all these funding requests in line with the tiered system?
Yeah, we were gonna go through, let me pull that up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, which one's first one again?
It's not.
Oh, yeah, so the Alto Artist Tour, they requested for FY '23, $3,000, which would be appropriate for their being in a tier B, because they're not a first-year event, and it did happen, they did have one last year.
Okay.
Their projected attendees is 400, which, so the cost per person is about $7.50.
Mr. Chairman, so I have a question, being this is my first, budget process that we've been through. Do we have a target in terms of cost per person? It's all over the board on these requests.
We've always had a chart that kind of gave us, there were some events in the past that, when it came out, it was like $22 per person for what they were asking. There's never really been a set. I don't know, it's hard to compare apples to oranges on this one, just because of, the niche and who is attending. I don't know if that'd be a
See, this is actual,
discussion
this
that
is year-to-date, so this
looked at for
represents
sure.
9 months.
Or inside, outside the county, inside Ruidoso, how many does this really bring to town? Some of these, it is hard to say.
It's pretty obvious to me that, being in the budget position that we're in with good revenues, that you would not be as, I guess, restrictive on that number. But I could see where at some point we probably need to get a little more consistent in how we make that decision.
Yeah, for sure. We used to not, we only started looking at that maybe a couple years ago. And you kind of sat down and looked at that number. I mean, you'd have one event that was 35 cents a participant and another one was $25, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mike, I think what may be helpful, and Elizabeth, I'm not sure if you've shared it, but, the tiered system has an administrative policy attached to it as well. And if we may want to take a look at the administrative policy and then build in some of those things that you'd like to see into that administrative policy, so that then it would give, staff the direction to apply some of those type of things to the policy. And then, it would be easy for you to, take a look and say, we're willing to fund these within the tiered system in accordance with the policy.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm not interested in mandating an unforgivable spreadsheet, I want some flexibility. But at the same time, having targets is good, so, and an understanding of how close we are. And then the applicants can also have an idea of, what, I really kind of need to increase my attendance or reduce my request.
Well, this is a good starting point, because you remember back when, we'd go through it and there was no process, no tiers, no nothing, and you'd kind of say, well, we'll give 1,700 to this group and 25, and it was a lot different. I mean, it took forever, and I feel like this is a good starting point. I think you'll be able to tweak it and add throughout the next year, but this was something that needed to be done.
So, Mr. Chairman, Judy, as I'm looking at these requests, you all said 84,000 is the total for the fiscal year 23. If I'm looking at the budgeted 23, am I looking at special events? Is that where this money comes from?
Yes, sir, and right now it's place marked at 120,000.
Okay, so which really only leaves 40 grand or so, for other requests. I know we have reserves and so forth, but.
Usually, I know last year was the first year we had a great amount of the 70,000, but that was because a lot of the events that we knew were routine were not at the budget hearing, so, it should be substantial.
Yeah,
amount.
so our current year activities at 100 and almost 14,000, if I read this right? Special events, and so we budgeted for 120, but we just took on a bunch of new requests, right? So we're gonna blow through that budget, don't you think?
Well, if these are all the events, because I believe they contacted anybody that they knew that had an event historically within Rideau, they've contacted everybody. So out of all those events, we're taking care of all the ones that are on the routine basis. I don't think we've ever had, this past year we had maybe 2 requests, the Aspen one and the golf one, and he asked for like $2,400, and the other one was like, was it 3,000 or 5,000, and those were the only requests that came in during the fiscal year.
So all of these activities taking place at the track were done
That's
last
something
year.
brand new this year.
Right, so I guess that's where I'm going. If we had 113 last year, and then we've got all of these events that
But
are
I
new.
believe within the policy, right, there's is there a max amount that you can get for one agency?
So the proposed policy would say that you are awarded up to 3 events on an annual basis. And those 3 events can be in a 5-year span, but only 3 for one agency.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I was gonna suggest that Elizabeth go over that policy.
Do you want to make
That she can, she can read the whole policy.
copies?
You want to make?
so is this policy gonna apply to our decision on these 23 requests?
It would, I believe what you approved was the policy for the 2023 requests. So this is the policy that goes along with the tier.
I was just gonna say, what I approved was the tiered funding. I guess I didn't.
We had drafted a policy similar to what we were talking about earlier,
Okay.
where there would be requirements tied to receiving the funds.
Okay.
So you would have to follow, I think there's 5 criteria in order to receive it. One would be, you would have to take one of our marketing and business classes. We'll offer 3 a year. They'll have to take 1. You have to have benchmark approval. Once we review the post event surveys and everything, they have to meet those benchmarks that we have. We will only fund up to 3 events annually per agency. So with the racetrack, for example, if they have 6 events in 22, we can fund up to 3. And that's up for discussion, but it seems like that's an equitable amount of events, given that some people only have 1 event a year. So we're just trying to be equitable in how we disperse the funds. And I think that's it. She's making copies, but I think that's the only requirements.
I guess I'm a little, I don't know what the right word is, but to consider these under a new policy, it's gonna take a minute, for me to digest it and figure out what we're doing here. and I don't know if I'm looking at this right, or if we, approve certain ones that are coming up quickly and then put the rest off, or how we do that, but,
Mr. Chairman, we are looking at the 2023 request. I don't think anything commits you to saying today that you're gonna approve it. I think you can still look at the policy. You got your request in, and then you could come back and address it in a later meeting, or you could take some time to look at the policy. I don't think anything commits you to saying we're gonna fund all these requests. You could table this for now, the request approvals, and then you come back at a later meeting and look at your policy on how it applies and adjust it. So you're not under any pressure. The big thing is that we need to, at this time, the total amount that's being requested on the special events, if we can approve that, or you already did approve that as part of your budget. So the policy, if you want to defer it and digest it a little bit or make changes, that'll work for us as well.
Mr. Chairman, so when is our next regularly scheduled meeting?
May 26th.
26th,
I think it's May 26th.
24th or 26th, somewhere around there.
I'm just concerned, I want to be responsive to some of these folks who do need a decision.
May 25th.
Yeah.
If we go with this.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're having some technical difficulties on YouTube, so if we can call for a short recess.
Yes, that'll work. Let's go ahead and recess until further determination. I didn't in terms of, maybe we only approve what absolutely needs approving early on.
Maybe so, like just say what, so like alto artists.
Zero Rides is October. The bottom was, let's see,
Rideau, so.
Fines and the Fines Festival.
So that's a 3.
Yes.
So Art Festival,
Did not happen last year.
Smoke, Rideau, so
He didn't even ask.
5, so.
Trail Runs.
4, yep.
Okay.
Art Loop is, or Alto Artist Tour is August.
Well, they're under the
Aim
22.
High, that's
The ones
2023 of June,
Jay,
so,
under the
This is all 23.
Oh, then
so they've got a year.
they're gonna get that.
She did, but it was on last fiscal
So,
year, June, so when she asked for June of
we're short on paper.
You can use mine.
The later it goes to the year, the harder it is to remember.
For some reason. So we're trying to, you can come sit with us then.
So I feel like for the racetrack, this Red Wine and Blue Festival did not happen last year.
Yeah,
They
so
asked
that's
for
good.
25, so we give them 25.
Yep.
Not that much. 2,500, not 1,000. So these concerts, those are all new.
Yep, all new.
Should we do all of them? Well, keep going. ZFS happened last year.
But he's doing his job, so I feel like we need to give him, what is he, an A or a B? He's an A? So we
Zia
can give him
Festival?
the 3? I thought the Zia Rides guy, is that him?
Oh, no, this is ZFS.
Oh, I
the
don't know,
racetrack.
I don't even know. Is
Yeah.
that new?
No, they do it, they've done it for a million years.
Okay, so,
Chile the Kid, they did it last year.
okay.
All-American. Here's the problem, the All-American Weekend and All-American Trials, that does happen every year. Do they have a booth out there? Then, but no. So,
Well, we should discuss those.
so we need to discuss
Yeah.
those with the committee.
Yes.
And then the concerts are technically all new.
Yes.
So that's something to consider. But like, so they need to decide on the racetrack what they want to do on all this. So then Grindstone Trail Runs, he's asking for,
I want to give him what is.
because I don't think I don't remember if they had their race last year or not. And I already messaged Ellen about putting it on the website.
Okay.
Brudoso did not happen last year.
Well, it's happening in 22.
Oh, you're right.
So she
gets 3.
3.
Mountain Smoke,
She gets 3. Because it's happening this year.
it would have happened, it will,
It's happening this year, so we're looking at this for 23. She's already been approved for 22. I'm already giving her money for 22.
but isn't the event technically in 23?
No, because it's Father's Day weekend.
No, not Ruidoso Mountain Smoke.
I don't know how that works. She's
called Ruidoso. There's Ruidoso and then there's Mountain Smoke.
But she's approved, I have a sheet. I think she's already.
Ruidoso
And
and then Mountain Smoke.
Okay.
So Mountain Smoke, there was in July. So she requested Mountain
wait a
Smoke today for July 23, 22.
Mountain Smoke Festival, she has a balance of $5,000
Okay.
already. This I had Judy put together.
So
she-
even though the event's in July next fiscal,
Yeah,
we're
she
gonna
was,
say it's good?
well,
Okay.
she's got about, she's showing me right there that she has money.
Then she needs to spend it in June and invoice for it.
That's how I know you're listening.
Yeah. Even though-
Well, we're spending it.
Okay, good. So then 3 and 3. And then the art festival, she's asking for 5, but that's not an.
It's not new, so she'll get 3.
And she happened. The Aspen Fest, she's asking for 3.
She'll get 3. She
It
knows.
used to be local, but I think it could be, don't you think Aspen Fest, it used to be local, but don't you think it should be?
She's trying to.
Festival of Light Parade, she only asked for 750. 750. Fines in the Pines, 2,000. Christmas Jubilee did not happen last year. Oktoberfest did not happen.
Oh, shoot, we need to make sure we do to fund her.
I did Fort Stanton Live. Zia Rides did happen.
Gavel back in.
I just like this one.
So we're back up and running.
So, Mr. Chairman, I believe we were discussing the, I guess, the rest of the lodger's tax funding process document, which actually goes into some narrative related to requirements of the applicants. And so, in looking at this thing, in my mind, I'd like to have, we already voted to put this in place, and so if we're going to apply this to the 23 funds, the fiscal year 23 requests, then, it needs to be on this framework. But now, in looking at that, I guess where I'm sitting is, I see all of these requests from the racetrack, there's multiple from the chamber and so forth, and as long as we have funding, I don't have heartburn on, putting more dollars out there when we have it available. So I don't know how we do this as a matter of a point of order, but, going back to and amending the approval of the guidelines, I don't know if we can do that, but if we can, I would propose that we just modify, and Elizabeth, I would, ask your input on this, but I would say we would modify the second bullet point there. Right now, it says lodger's tax funds will be awarded up to 3 events annually. I would propose that we reword that to say lodger's tax funds may be limited to 3 events annually per applicant. And that kind of gives us the directionally correct verbiage, but it doesn't lock us in. And then, as we start experiencing reduced funding in future years, we'll just have to make modifications. So that's just a comment.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, if the chair would entertain a motion to bring the item back to the table,
Okay.
have that discussion, look at the whole policy as it applies and any other modifications you want to make, and then reconsider the motion to approve.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we bring back to the table the agenda item approval, disapproval of a tiered system.
Very good.
I second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we will bring it back to the table. And I did like your comment about changing the wording on bullet point number 2.
Are you good with that, Elizabeth? Or?
Absolutely.
Could you restate that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would
Lodger's tax funds.
amend the lodger's tax special event applicant guidelines, being that the second bullet point that currently reads lodger's tax funds will be awarded up to 3 events annually per agency. I would amend that to say lodger's tax funds may be limited to 3 events annually per applicant.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Mike, didn't you also want to, have some type of consideration for your earlier discussion on participants or and like you said, not to tie the hands, but to put some type of measurement in there, yes. And not to tie people's hands, but to give them some guidance, and I thought that was a good remark.
Yeah, I think that is a good idea. So in looking through this, maybe we just add one additional bullet point. And I'm gonna need some help on this, but I would just say that, applications,
Dollar per participant will be considered. Something along that line, or
Dollar spent per
dollar spent per
attendee, yeah,
attendee will
Yeah.
be considered in each application.
perfect.
So for example, currently with the current request this year and the projected attendees, the Grindstone Trail Runs is the highest cost per person at $13.57. But that's also a very, targeted group, which I think that, based off Frederick's making the case today, that I think that that's an audience that we could tap into and continue to grow. And so I'd hate to put
and it's a nonprofit. I mean,
And he
you
does
have to
nonprofit,
consider
yeah.
those kind of things too.
so I'm just saying that I don't know.
Is there a
if we put it
way,
all-
like, as we go, so this will be the first year of the tiered, would we be able to look at, like, next year, let's say an event gets $1,000 in social media marketing, you could go back and look, what was the engagement, the interaction with those posts, and they were very low and limited, so, I mean, that might be a consideration too. Because some events, it's gonna be hard to judge how many people came through the gate or came and participated, but, would you be able, I mean, okay, so let's say, I don't know, just any of the events, you do social media, this, that, and the other, can you look at what the interaction was outside of, like, our area? So there was not really much interaction in West Texas, El Paso. I don't feel like this, that might be a consideration. I don't know, I'm just thinking as I'm going, but.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, just, on the last part of it, just thinking through it, and, to your point, Mike, I think that these policies should be a general guidance and not something that's gonna, so if we can make kind of like a last statement on here, that these should be a general guidance for applying the tier system, but it should have flexibility so that staff can work with the event planners to, execute the events or just something like that.
So did we capture the, second amendment that we made to this? Who's taking minutes?
We want that dollar spent per attendee will be considered.
Perfect. And then the last, I guess, I agree with you, Tim, and so maybe the last, sentence on this on these guidelines would be, that, these guidelines are in fact that, and, flexibility is granted to use them as such.
Yeah, and this is a perfect example because a lot of these events were not held for 2 years, so like I said earlier, their momentum was killed, and it's almost like starting over again. So, you look at like the tattoo convention, they didn't have it. So,
So that's an example of they requested money for FY '22, but they'll need to come back to request for FY '23. So they fall under that category of like ones that might come back. The Golden Aspen Rally in September, I mean, today he only asked for money for the May rally. He didn't request any money for the September rally. So they're gonna have to come back. So those are two right off the bat that would fall under the 3. So we're at 6, of events that if they came back in
well, and the Downs
23.
racetrack is another one for these 2022.
Right, yeah, that you
events,
guys, so that's, I don't know, 20,000 right there if you took all the ones from this year that you guys approved this morning that we already would have for next year.
So we went through this and where are we, Kelly?
If we put in 20 for what they requested.
Based on the tiered system,
Well, I
without the
skipped-
track, without the track.
I skipped some of the track
Okay.
ones. Do we want to talk about those?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to talk about them right now? Or do you want to go line by line, or what are we doing?
Mr.
Before we
Chairman,
move on,
yeah.
Yeah, let's finalize the, let's see, lodger's tax special event application guidelines. Do we have all the wording pretty good?
Yes. Yeah, I got it.
So, Mr. Chairman, I will move approval of the lodger's tax special event application guidelines with the aforementioned modifications.
Do we have a second?
Second that.
Any discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Silly saying, do we have a second, because I have to look.
Mr. Chairman, and just, you know, as a conversation before you get into, or as a statement before you get into your conversation, you know, so far this meeting, you've approved the budgets on the special events. You have, you know, 120,000 budgeted. You still have cash balance, so later on in the year, if people come back with other events, you know, you still have the ability to amend your budget and consider other
Make an
events.
adjustment.
So I won't worry too much about other people that may come back at a later date. You still have resources to work with them as well.
Right.
Okay,
So,
so going down the list?
yeah. Are these already the max amounts? Are they done
So-
tiered? Like
No,
on-
No,
so what I,
so we did it.
we've just adjusted it for the
Okay.
tiers. So starting with Alto Artist Tour, they requested 3, and they would qualify for 3.
Okay.
ENMU Rideau, so Aim High, she requested 5, but she would qualify for 3.
Okay.
Fort Stanton Live requested 4, and he would qualify for 4.
Hang on a second, where is that?
He was an addition, he was not on there. They got it in just after we did it, so he requested 4, we'll get 4.
And based off of the new guidelines, I don't know how you guys want to handle the racetrack and their requests. The Red Wine and Blue Festival, that's a new event. They've asked for 2,500. They would technically qualify for that. There's the concert series. Zia Festival is an event that has happened previously. Chile Kids happened previously.
Which is the $3,000 limit?
Correct. So those would all technically fall under the
3,000.
3,000.
Okay.
Same with the All-American Trials. I'm a little not sure why they need money the weekend of All-American. That's the biggest weekend of race season, but I'm not here to speculate. So, you know, we'd look to the committee to make a recommendation on if you're eliminating them to 3 or recommending 3. And then the All-American Cowboy Festival, even though it's part of the racetrack, it technically falls under the foundation, so I would look at that as a different entity.
Still like the old Cowboy Symposium.
Yeah, so they requested 5, but they would only technically
Received 3.
qualify for 3.
Okay. I would say since those are, a majority of those are new events, with the exception of the All-American weekend, I mean, that's not really there's not anything it looks like in conjunction with that. It just looks like it's the weekend, which is already so packed.
We just to clarify on that presentation, we will have vendors out at the tent on that All-American weekend. So there will be a vitality element in there. It's not just going to be a blank weekend for the racetrack.
I didn't realize you were still here. That was like a voice from above.
Oh, I've been sneaking in on all you guys. Thank you.
Always listening.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
lunch is here if you want to break for lunch.
We'll take a 30-minute break and resume.
Finish all this?
Do you want to, we can finish it and then
You could get your lunch or whichever, however you like to handle it.
I think we can roll
could
through
bring you
this.
lunch boxes too.
we're rolling right now. I'll tell you what, listen.
But there's enough for everybody that's in the room here.
Okay.
So everybody's
Thank you
welcome
very
to some
much.
lunch.
Matt, you're missing out on lunch. You should have come in person.
What's the deal, guys? Just bring it on over when you're
I'll
done.
drop one
please.
off when I leave.
All right, so let's go ahead and continue. Ruidoso Grindstone Trail Runs.
He requested 4,750. Did he do his trail run last summer? So it is one that happened last year. So under that, he would technically qualify at the $3,000
Okay.
level. Ruidoso and Mountain Smoke were previously funded last year, so they would fall under, they requested 5 for each of those. They would qualify for 3.
Okay.
This year, they're doing it now.
They're doing it in 2022.
We're in
talking
2023.
Next year. The Art Festival requested 5. They would qualify for 3. The Aspen Fest Parade and Festival requested 3, they would qualify for 3. The Festival Lights Parade requested $750, they would qualify for $750. Vines in the Pines requested $2,000, they would qualify for $2,000. Christmas Jubilee did not happen, they requested 4, they qualify for 4. Oktoberfest, they requested 2, they would qualify for 2, and the Wild West Mountain Bike Festival, Zia Rides, he requested 5, he'd qualify for 3.
Okay.
So I would just need to know on, for the racetrack, which of those, or all of those, or what the committee decides on that section.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So historically, has it been the direction of this committee to advise applicants that, you know, this is to help them build an event as opposed to continually fund it? Because that's what we're doing with this tiered system. We're saying you can get 5 the first year, you can get 3 the second. So the message is you need to build it to a self-sustaining event, or at least in some way.
That was kind of the discussion before the pandemic was, some of these events, a couple of them have been around for 20, 30 years. And at that point, I mean, you should be pretty self-sustaining, and not coming back asking for maximum money every year and depending on us. I think the big kind of concentration with Rodney, Village Manager Dodge, and Mayor Crawford was, you know, always implementing new ideas and new events in the village, keep it fresh and exciting. And so, you know, that was kind of the discussion that started prior to the pandemic was you did have a lot. I mean, it used to be the first, this is kind of exciting because there are new events, but I think the first 2 or 3 years I was on there, every year is the same 15 groups and the same amount, and there was no kind of new blood coming up, and so that was more of the push, so.
And so do we have the ability to, I mean, I guess we do. I didn't read, I guess I should reread that. But in terms of our flexibility to approve a request in excess of that tiered amount, are we locked in? And I guess where I'm going with that is you look at an event like Aim High. I mean, they've grown it year after year after year, and so we could either focus our dollars on new events or ones that are growing, because either way, it's an economic impact to our community. Let me reread that.
Okay. Are we limited at 5?
I guess that's my question.
That's the question, I guess.
These are guidelines, is what it says. And all it really does.
Mr. Chairman, it's your own internal policies that limit you to 5, and nothing, you know, prohibits you from making a recommendation to change that.
Yeah.
So
I like the fact, I like having a guideline of the 5, and then just the flexibility of saying we recognize that we are funding this at higher than our guidelines. And the reason is because it's growing.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mr. Chairman, and, you know, when you start to look at, you know, the conversations, it's really, a lot of these events should be becoming self-sustaining. And, you know, it's really seed money to get them going, helping them market, helping them, you know, build up. So you'd assume as they're increasing the number of events or people attending the events, their profitability is increasing as well. So, you know, the marketing efforts really shouldn't change that much. You know, I think those are kind of the discussions and how people have handled it before. But
Yeah.
if you look at some of the events have become, you know, where they're actually, you know, expecting to get that money, and that's part of their whole, you know, marketing plan for some of these events, and that's what's making them, you know, profitable, if you would. And they're really not, some of them aren't really focusing on trying to improve the quality of the event or whatnot to make it self-sustaining.
Right.
So they become reliant on these large tax dollars. And I think that's what we're trying to get away from, is to make sure that they're gonna be putting on quality events, try to become self-sustaining and not just being subsidized.
Yeah, and I agree with that comment. I also, like I say, if different budgetary times call for different decisions, and so we have money available right now, and to be able to put that to work for us is what I'm after. And then when times tighten back up, we'll have to make some tough decisions.
Grindstone. Those 3 that we looked at.
Jason?
We could fund them as is, I mean, as we went through. Let me see what.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, nothing prohibits you from funding them as is if that's what you want. And then, making sure that the guidance within the tiered system applies, for previous events. We are coming out of a pandemic and, I think everybody deserves an opportunity to, get a fresh start moving forward. So you might want to make that concession for this one time. So, and then apply the dollar amount to the tiered system thereafter. That way it's fair for everybody that's put in a request.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, are you prepared for a motion?
I am.
Okay.
Let me see what, did you tally up what it?
I did, but
under
I
the
haven't added, I haven't done anything for the racetrack.
And Mr. Chairman, I think the important part of the tiered system is that we start making sure that they put the marketing in the right place, that they're putting their marketing dollars and they're being effective with it. I think that's the big issue as far as I'm concerned.
Well, in some of these, I mean, Carrie remembers too, when, like I mentioned earlier, that they would ask for 5, we'd give them 5, and it was going to 2 newspaper articles, and that doesn't go very far. So some of these groups that may look at it and say, well, I asked for 5, I only got 3. That 3 is going to go a lot farther with you guys than it would 5,000 with them. And so,
On the flip side though, like, Seth at the Wild West mountain bike, he asked for 5. And, we've seen historically, he's done a good job with allocating those dollars. But under this system, he'd only qualify for 3.
go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, so now that we have a tourism director and staff and everything here, I'd like a recommendation on funding all of these. And I guess my initial slant is to fund them as requested. And the comment, just like you made, was a good one. But do you all have any additional input on any of these? You don't have to go through each one, but.
We do. I think, like she said, Zia Rides, his approach to marketing is correct. He's hitting his demographic. He's already meeting the benchmarks that we're requesting. So I would recommend that he gets full funding for the request. I also believe that Grindstone trail runs, we are aiming our advertising in this fiscal year to really focus on outdoor recreation. We're doing a lot on running. I think it would be fabulous if we could support him in that endeavor because it helps us in our endeavor. So I would recommend that you do fund him for his full amount. There was one other one on there.
That is a true nonprofit.
And I think too, on the track events, I'm excited to see the new events. I think it's great that they're bringing tacos and tequila, things that haven't been there before. I am 100% in agreement of funding those as new events. They're bringing new lifeblood to the track, and I think that's great. Now I need my glasses. Another one is Brudoso and the tattoo show, and the reason I think it's important to give them probably the funding that they're asking for is because they're willing to collaborate with each other in order to bring the synergy that we need together. And having the cooperation between those two events and the village is also very important. So I would also like to see them.
Well, and timing of these events is important too, because,
Correct.
some of them pop up brand new in the middle of July, which we're already packed in the middle of July. There's other times of the year that you would want to give additional seed money if you needed to. I mean, early June is pretty busy, but it's not
Right.
summer busy. So yeah, that's great. Now the tattoo, they didn't ask for 23. This is only for 22. But Brudosa's already funded for 22.
Yes.
Okay.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of all of the special event budget requests for fiscal year 23 as listed in our agenda, to include the Fort Stanton $4,000 request that was not on my list, and approving that as requested with the caveat or the knowledge that we will be moving toward an orientation process, which was fantastic for applicants, so they can put together the presentation in a format that we can make more informed decisions on. And then also, looking at those dollar amount limits and the number of limits per applicant, but knowing that we would have the flexibility in the future. So that's a big, long way to say,
Sid, did you get that?
The main thing is, I think you can stop right there. That was just me. But I would make that a motion.
I second that.
I want you to repeat that.
Ditto.
No, I get it. All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So the total based off the request in your agenda with the addition of Fort Stanton Live at $4,000, that total is $76,000. So with $120,000 listed in the budget, that allows for $44,000 for additional requests in the next fiscal year.
Very good. You realize my first year it was 4:45, 5 o'clock when we finished? Good Lord.
telling Tim, I said, it's never this smooth. And fast.
It's a record right there.
I think
It's an efficient village government.
I think the key is jettisoning 2 members. That's what the key was.
All right, if there's nothing else, this meeting is, yes, sir. So, all right, excellent. Y'all enjoy. Awesome. Hit that gavel and go eat.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this meeting is adjourned. That's a wrap. Good job.
Thank you so much, guys. I'll take that sandwich at my place when y'all are ready.
I'll bring it by.
Bring it on over. All right, guys. Thank you again. Appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.
I never heard that from you. Oh, and you said.
Yes. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
And so I called her and I was like, so are you real busy today? And then I forgot to email you back with my edits on this.
No. I didn't get anything from you. I texted you, said, are you okay? I'm worried about you. I told Todd, I go, if I knew where she lived, I'd go check on her. I think something's wrong. She never doesn't respond.
Because you tried to send me.
People trying to get in here.
Some of her emails
I
were
said,
going to
you have to call me because I had $10 in my office and you
It's like, well, we dodged this bullet there.
And I tried to text her yesterday and it didn't go through. Look, Elizabeth.
That's the last email I got, the last
Oh,
text
no,
I
I
got
have a
from you.
bunch from you. I sent you an emoji with a girl crying, going, are you okay? I'm really worried. I was gonna call Kelly and I thought, Kelly's gonna think I'm